Hello, everybody. Welcome into this week's edition of the Casual Sports Podcast. As always, I'm Alec Caberna.
And I'm Matt Morrison.
I'm Mike Wolfgang.
Today, we got a bunch of stuff on schedule. A bunch of stuff's coming up. We put out a video last week, the challenge to the king. Did he do it? No, he didn't. We're going to talk about that and more later on in this episode. But first off, we're going to start out NFL, guys. We had another great week.
NFL, another busy week.
Right.
Interesting thing that happened. So Joe Burrow and the Bengals finally won. Each of the last three number one overall picks tied in an NFL game before getting a win. So Joe Burrow and the Bengals tied with the Eagles last Sunday. So that was that stat. But big story coming out of this weekend, the Titans COVID-19 situation. So the Titans have a bunch of COVID tests that went positive. Now they had to cancel games. The Steelers game got canceled for this Sunday. So that happened. And then even bigger with the COVID, Cam Newton tested positive for the Patriots. That moved that game from Sunday to Monday. So now we have a doubleheader tonight on Monday Night Football.
Which will be a treat.
Yeah, definitely.
Wasn't it like 18 cases for Titans? Or was
The Titans keep seeming like they go up every day.
Yeah,
So.
but I think today was the first day in 7 days that they didn't have one case, which is a step forward.
Interesting though, from the Titans situation, their bus driver also tested positive after they rode the bus. He's also the bus driver for the Astros. MLB has said nothing about more positive, so most likely no one's caught it there.
Right.
So good safety protocols for Major League Baseball. Still interesting to see what contact tracing looks like in that situation. But now let's get into some of these games. We got a whole slew of undefeated teams in the NFL so far. Obviously, 4 weeks in, you expect out of some teams. We got the Steelers, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Titans, the Seahawks, and the Packers. Who do you guys like the most? Obviously, you like the Steelers the most out of that group. But who has impressed you the most? Who's really showed you that they are the top team so far?
So, the Bills, man, I know I'm rocking Russell today, but the Bills coming off hot. I mean, they're playing the teams that they're supposed to beat, too. The final test is that they got to beat New England. New England's been that... Yeah. They've been that heir of that division for
and depending on how long
years.
Cam Newton's out, that can impact this whole situation too.
Yeah, but they had Stidham going tonight, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, the guy from Auburn.
Is it Stidham?
And who's also, I think, is really good. I mean, he beat Alabama.
Right.
They were hoping on him playing until they signed Cam Newton. So
yeah.
He be their starter.
Yeah. So I think the Bills are finally starting to get that feel they've gotten back in the early 90s when they went to all those Super Bowls.
Right.
I think they're finally getting that back now. I think Josh Allen is solid quarterback. Diggs is doing what he usually does. Mike, what else?
Well, looking at the undefeated teams, you're not surprised about the Chiefs.
Right.
No,
really.
No, they have blown away with it. They destroyed the Ravens.
Pat's doing his thing. Tyreek's doing his thing.
I mean, I'm not really surprised by the Seahawks because they have Russell Wilson. They have
DK Metcalf.
good receiving corps.
Okay, so what team has surprised you then this season that's undefeated? Because for me, it's the Packers.
I was going to say
I'm surprised they're 4-0. Obviously, haven't faced too many people yet.
Yeah. It would have
only
been
4 games.
The lack of offensive
or
weapons.
3 games. They're looking to go 4-0 tonight.
Yeah.
It would have been the Bears, but they lost yesterday. But they're still surprised.
The Cardinals had a promising situation. They were 2-2. They're 2-2 now.
Yeah,
they started 2-0.
Yeah, and they still have a promising season. I mean, it's still early.
Right. It's still early. Any of these teams can flip. I mean, we're talking about these teams being 4-0. They can end the season 4-12.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very easy just to lose 1 or 2 guys and you're done. I mean, say the Titans lose like Derrick Henry and Tannehill, they're in for some trouble. Their defense can probably help them. But I think my one not surprised me, just I'm most impressed with, it's got to be the Chiefs. I picked them as my Super Bowl team this year out of the AFC. So I kind of got to rock with them a little bit.
Yeah.
But they've been so impressive, dominated every single time they've hit the floor.
I've got 3 teams in here that I kind of cheer for. Pittsburgh's my number 1. The Bills are like my number 2, and I mean Russell Wilson, probably one of my favorite players of all time, with the Seahawks. But I think those 3 teams right there at this point are Super Bowl contenders right now.
The only thing with the Steelers,
their secondary is not too.
That too, and as I mentioned last week, I want to see them play somebody better than who they apart. Not to discredit them, but I just want to see them play better competition.
Same with the Bills, too. They're playing teams that they should beat. Pittsburgh, their first test was supposed to be against the Titans, who was also undefeated.
Right, it was supposed to be the Sunday.
Yeah. But next week, they got the Eagles, so
that should be an easy win.
Be an easy dub.
We just saw this on ESPN. The highest chance to win the NFC East based on the ESPN's Football Power Index. Cowboys at 67%, Eagles at 23%, Washington Football Team at 9%, and then the Giants down at 1%.
That division is so bad.
That is.
We're going to talk about them a little later.
Yeah, we will. We will.
Because they are abysmal.
It's so
abysmal.
bad.
First conference division I want to talk about, though, the AFC North. I want to get your guys' thoughts. Is this the best division in football, or have they just gotten lucky so far? Because they do have the easiest schedules in all of the NFL. The 4 teams in the AFC North were all in the top 5 easiest schedules this season. 2 teams are 3-1, 1 is 4-0, and then we don't talk about the Bengals.
No, I'm not really surprised about it, but like the last place team, the Bengals are like in terms of divisions, they're probably a good last place team.
Yeah.
We were talking about we were talking about the worst division this morning, meaning about the division we just said with the Giants and the Cowboys and the Eagles, and I was like that close to saying the AFC North is probably one of the best, but then I looked at their schedules. Pittsburgh, easy
they
wins
played
over
one
the Giants.
team so far.
Yeah, they played the Giants, who's in that worst division.
Yeah.
So,
in week 4, they're already given a 1% chance to make the playoffs and win the division.
Yeah.
So, clearly the bottom of the bottom.
The Browns, and if you want to talk about surprising teams that are 3-1, the Browns are definitely that team that 3-1. They lost to the Ravens, but the Ravens are like Super Bowl contenders.
Right. But the reason I came up with this thought of, or have they just gotten lucky with who they're facing so far, is because the Ravens, while being dominant, they go in against the Chiefs and they get their butts whooped.
Exactly.
So obviously, our top of the top team is the Chiefs really that far ahead of everyone else, or is the AFC North
I think the Chiefs
just eating wins?
I think when we get into more divisional play, like when we see Pittsburgh play the Ravens, and we don't talk about Cincinnati, but the Browns looking for redemption when they play the Ravens again. And they got to play Pittsburgh too. Every year I was like, every Cleveland game, we're at least going to win 2 games out of the year. That's what I always.
And that's not up for question this year.
That is not up for question. Like Browns are coming to play, and I don't hate the Browns. I'm a Steelers fan. I'm one of the Steelers fans that are like, hey, I don't mind Cleveland. My dad was a Browns fan forever and then moved away. If they didn't move away, I'd be wearing one of those jerseys right now.
But I'm not really surprised by the Browns. And
they're playing how they should have played last year. To put it simple,
and they have
this is where they should be.
Like a performance like yesterday, they have everything to do something like that.
Right.
So I'm not surprised by it because that's what we have.
And they almost blew that game to the Cowboys last night.
I know. But your savior Odell just took off at the end.
Odell played amazing in that game. Finally.
Talk about some of their opponents that these AFC North teams have faced. The Cowboys aren't showing for it this season, but they're still a good team. Their defense is very questionable, but they still have a good offense, and the Browns could easily lost that game.
Right.
Yeah, but the Cowboys, your star player on defense, Leighton Vander Esch, is really good, but he's always he's injured. Prone. Right. He's injury prone. Every team has their injury prone person. For the Steelers, it's Connor. I don't know really who the Browns. Chubb. I don't think.
Well,
Chubb's
the Browns have just announced that Nick Chubb will miss about 6 weeks with an MCL sprain that he suffered during the Cowboys game. He got rolled up on. He has been placed on the injured reserve. Stefanski has said, though, that they don't believe that it's season-ending, and they're pretty sure he's going to be back. Yeah. But it's going to be interesting now. Kareem Hunt's going to get all those. And in that Cowboys game, there was 4 different running backs that touched the ball.
Kareem Hunt can easily fill the void.
They brought in Dearness Johnson. He just started destroying that entire Cowboys defense, which was amazing from a guy that doesn't play.
Yeah, right. And they all produced when they stepped in.
Right. It was actually really impressive to see. Most teams, they're lucky if their first guy goes for more than 80 yards in a game. The Browns have 2 guys that can go for 100, right. And now we just found out that they have backup running backs that can also put up 50 on their own. It's getting more and more dangerous as we keep going in.
For the Browns.
It is.
As we talk about all the time with them, that's their bread and butter is running the ball, and knowing that they're very deep, that position is good for them going forward.
We all watched that Ravens game, and we're like, it's going to be another one of those years for the Browns. They bounced back in these last 3 games. Kevin Stefanski in 4 games has 3 wins. Hugh Jackson in 40 games with the Browns had 3 wins. So do we think the Browns have actually entered a new era, or Or have they just faced
think-
easy competition in these past 3 games?
Stefanski's his offensive.
He's a brilliant
Yeah,
offensive head coach.
when we talked about this earlier when we did one of the shows in the summertime.
Yeah. How they were going to run the 2 tight end sets, which has been so effective when they have Austin Hooper
Baker.
and who's the he's the other big tight end? Harrison Bryant, I think.
Harrison Bryant.
I think that's his name. The other tight end. He's like 6'8". He used to play basketball. He's the other tight end there.
But how many passes? Baker only had like 60 passes. That's yesterday, right? And that's what that's what you want to get out of him. Short passes and you
Best
run
way for the
ball.
Browns to win: keep the ball out of his hands.
Yeah,
Right.
And that's not anything against him. That's just how effective the rest of the team is.
Yeah.
He still had like an interception like every game. Did he have one yesterday?
I don't believe so.
I don't
he
think
did.
so.
But in the besides yesterday, I think he had an interception in like every game.
But and then talking about that game yesterday with Cowboys and Browns, as I mentioned before the show, the Cowboys turned the ball over on 2 straight offensive possessions.
And that killed you guys.
Led to touchdowns. So
Right.
if you eliminate that, they could have won that game.
Right, and they put up on the screen during it. They talked about it even a little bit. The Browns are the best scoring offense off of turnovers in the season so far.
Yeah.
So when their defense shows up, the offense wins, and I think that was clear in that game because you notice in the fourth quarter when the Cowboys' offense started producing, they put up 24 points. The defense was terrible, and the offense stopped producing.
I mean, the defense was just bad for Dallas. I mean,
in the base of that entire game.
Cleveland was just doing anything they wanted.
Yeah.
Until they got to that fourth quarter and they started pushing back, and everyone was like, "Oh God, Cleveland, really?"
Here they go again.
Here they go again.
I think Cleveland finally got the same. They use the good players you have and use them a lot. Odell had 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns. Jarvis Landry had a passing touchdown.
Yeah,
That was
2
incredible.
Odell.
Yeah.
Right, to Odell, 37 yards. A little underthrown, but Odell
still
done
worked.
work, yeah.
But it was a good.
Can we talk about the block by Baker Mayfield, though, on Everson Griffin? Baker, I don't know what Everson Griffin was doing. I think he was waiting for Jarvis Landry to run a certain direction. I don't think he thought Jarvis was going to throw it. But that's at least what it looked like.
I mean, it's not something you expect, but you got to be prepared for anything.
If you were thinking any wide receiver was going to throw the ball, you'd think Odell, right?
Right. And Jarvis throwing a left.
Talk about random guys throwing the football. Sam Cuck for said that so wrong. The punter for the Ravens. Shut up, Matt. You ever mispronounce the name so bad it sends your partner into cardiac arrest over there?
What was his name again?
Sam Cook. He's a not most accurate NFL passer in history. He's 9 for 9. That happened the other day. I just thought that was a funny one. This is actually the first time the Browns have been 3-1 since 2001.
Really?
It's been almost 20 years since they started 3-1.
Oh God.
I mean, you know how to react to that? It's never happened. I mean,
You can do like a-
It's been, I was born. Put this into perspective for people. I was born in 2000. So at the time that they went 3-1, I was less than a year old. I would have been a year old by the end of the season. When they went 3-1, I was not yet a year old.
I was about to be 2, so that puts that in perspective.
Yeah, I was right there. I was about to be too.
It's been a long time.
It's been a long time.
This type of way.
And you know what? Who's still repping the jersey? This guy. Okay, next up, Steelers. Before you get too excited,
Okay.
3-0 against teams that are combined 1-11,
Yeah.
and have won by an average of about 7 points. It was 7.33 repeating.
Yeah.
Are they serious contenders this year, or like we keep saying, have they just really gotten lucky with who they're facing? That's why they're 3-0.
Yeah, go ahead.
They're
Your team.
I mean, they're not. They don't pick the teams they got to play. They're scheduled against the teams that they.
Yeah, they don't have to pick them, but
And
if you're that much better than those teams, why are you winning by an average of 7
we had this
points?
conversation about San Francisco last year when they
Yeah.
started out 7-0 or something like that.
Yeah.
They played a bad team.
I gotta admit, their defense is really good, but their secondary, Minka, I mean, he's not getting,
Underperformed.
he's underperforming. T.J. Watt, all those guys down there, their Bud Dupree is insane
They got
right
a
now.
good core there.
Yeah, those are the guys that are stopping it. But when they pass, that's mostly when they run. You know, when they pass it, Hayden's getting a little older now. He's still one
still
of the
very-
best.
right.
Yeah, one of the best cornerbacks in the game. I put him up there with Josh Norman and Richard Sherman.
Right.
And those
Older
guys
guys
are
that
still
still
playing.
perform.
Yeah.
But now
Norman had a strip yesterday. He's still out there playing.
Right. But now you go into this next weekend, Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Eagles.
Yeah.
So now your combined record is 2-12-1 if you beat them. So you're still having. This was supposed to be the test against the Titans this weekend.
Yeah.
Titans messed up big
the
time.
week after that, you got to play the Browns.
And I think that's really the big test for
That's
both
the big
for both
test.
teams.
For both teams.
People,
Yeah.
thought the Cowboys would be more of a challenge, but that entire division has proved to be elsewise. So interesting.
Yeah.
Who's really? This is
gonna be a tough
second
game,
place.
man.
I think is more up for grabs. Browns Steelers in that weekend.
And I'm gonna miss it too because I'm gonna be at work. I came that close to hey, I'm not working today, but I gotta work. I gotta pay the bills. So.
Do you?
No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Next up, staking in the AFC North. Lamar Jackson can beat every single team in the league except for the Chiefs. In regular season games, he's 0-3 against the Chiefs and 21-1 against every other team. The only other loss came against the Browns on October 7th in 2018, and then overtime upset 12-9. It was the Browns finished that season 7-8-1. Lamar is obviously a dominant freak of nature, and as much as people hate on him, he's one of the best in the league. Why can't they beat the Chiefs though? They can beat everyone but him.
The Chiefs are better.
Is that it? Or are they just that? Is the Chiefs really just so much better than everyone else? Because the Ravens have pretty much shown they're the number 2 team in the league.
Yeah, number 2.
Until they go to the playoffs.
And they can't advance the playoffs either.
Well, the playoffs are number 2 too. They're literally number 2.
They're just literally number 2. Yeah. Man, Cleveland would. Odell would love that. He doesn't love a good steamer, right? Sticking to the AFC North, unless you want to talk more about this.
So the Ravens, I want to talk about them.
Okay.
All right, Odell. My mistake. Lamar Jackson. Okay, he's a good quarterback. He can take off and run. Okay.
He's very dynamic.
He's very dynamic. Okay, I can't stand him. I think But here's the thing. I think that they should put more people around him. He's got Mark Andrews. He's got Brown. I really don't think that's enough.
He's going to Mark Andrews about every time.
That's his go-to.
Yeah. And then in running back, you got Dobbins now, and you have Ingram, who's getting a little older, but he's still.
Who's he got in his wide receiver core? Obviously, Hollywood Brown. He's just balled out.
Oh yeah, I can't even remember because they're not even relevant.
No, there are some good ones.
I just can't remember off the top of the head. I don't know what.
Matt, you want to pull that up for us?
Yeah, I will pull that up.
But I think Matt's right. If you get more weapons around him, but we talk about running the ball, he's very dynamic when he gets in open space. But as we talk about often with him, he's got to be able to throw the ball.
That's the thing, and that's the thing. When he gets an open space more, they're gonna figure him out more. That's why the Chiefs, pounce.
They also have Willie Snead, Miles Borkin, Anthony Thomas, Devin Duvernay.
Duvernay, the guy from LSU, right?
Yeah.
He had that. He had that return against the Chiefs. I think that was their first touchdown. But teams are figuring him out. They're figuring out. Oh, he's gonna run. Oh yeah.
Is that why he's 21-1 against the rest of the league?
Well, good teams.
Well, it doesn't matter. They're still clearly not figuring him out if he's still winning.
Well,
they're figuring him out. They're not.
This is what, 3rd year now?
Yeah,
I believe.
So,
or 2.5, I think.
So
he started for 2.5.
So maybe it's starting to show a little more. So far with the Chiefs, Chiefs beat them. Well, let's see what other teams he's played. Let's see if Pittsburgh gets to him. Let's see if the Browns get to him.
It's still early on.
Yeah, it's still early.
He's got time to get it.
He's got time, but I think at the end of the season we'll see the real Lamar Jackson. We'll see. We can criticize him after this. I've been criticized.
So this will be your year, if you make or break season for you for Lamar.
For me,
that's fair.
I think the big thing is he has to win in the playoffs.
He's got to
they haven't done that yet.
Right. Even if they don't win the AFC, because they can't beat the Chiefs, they've shown that. Even if they don't make the AFC Championship, they just have to make it past the first round.
Advance around so you can see you made some progress.
Right.
Over the last.
Because if you go back to the same place and you don't have a better record than last, you can't get much better than 13-3 last year. Mm-hmm. It's hard to do. Yeah. And if you come back out this year and you're 12-4 and you lose in the first round of the playoffs, where's the change up? Because obviously you're here, but you need to be here.
You need to keep
where's the change?
Right.
What's lacking? Why can't you guys get to the next level? Yeah. I think that's a fair assessment.
So you gotta look yourself in the mirror, before you take the next step. If you're just staying right there, to move up, you gotta look yourself in the mirror and figure out what we have to do better.
Something certain teams in the NBA haven't done, like the Houston Rockets. Well, the Bengals stick in the AFC North once again. They're pretty much the conference to talk about right now. Everything's up for grabs in this conference or in this division.
It's a very intriguing division.
The Bengals finally picked up their win. Maybe they start turning things around here.
Jaguars are just complete trash, okay? But they were like one of the best teams, like a couple years ago, like 2016.
Not too long ago.
They
beat
made the playoff
Pittsburgh.
runs with
They
Blake
were-
Bortles.
They were in the
Completely.
AFC Championship where they lost to Tom Brady.
Then they traded away their entire secondary.
Yeah.
And gone down.
Josh
ever
Norman
since.
or Jalen Ramsey.
I don't know why they made all those trades. Why did they destroy the entire team the next
They
year?
started out bad, and then all the guys wanted out.
Yeah.
That's just how it happens in sports. But yeah, I mean, they had all that together, and it just didn't work out.
Fewest games to reach 5,000 passing yards and 2,000 rushing yards. Lamar
Wow.
Jackson is 4 games less than Michael Vick. Lamar did it in 35. Michael Vick did it in 39. So Matt, you're starting to eat your words a little
Pretty
bit.
comparable.
You're gonna have to start eating your words a little bit there. You know who's gonna make me start eating mine? Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is the first rookie to ever put up 300 plus passing yards in 3 straight games. I keep criticizing him. I think they throw the ball too much in that entire offense. But obviously, great game. He's done multiple great
The one game-
He said good
performances.
things in his
The
couple
one
I'm not
game,
a-
how
I'm
many passes did he have? Not like that one game. It was like
He had 61 against the Browns.
Yeah. Like,
So I'm still waiting. I want to see. Obviously, the team around him isn't good, and he's still putting up those numbers. Impressive, but I want to see more. Before I give him the credit that he's earned already, I need to see him against, I'll say, a great team.
That's fair.
I want to see how they compare against even the Steelers' defense, because we know the Browns' secondary, especially when they faced, was down a lot of guys and were pretty much awful in that game.
Yeah, it was quite
And even the
bad.
Cowboys' offense exposed that secondary once again in the fourth quarter, which led to their 24-point comeback.
Right.
let me go back to Pittsburgh for a second. I think that they're relying a lot on their defensive line, like their stars down there. Like I said, Watt and Tuitt and Bud Dupree. So I think that the
Even Cam
secondary.
Hayward.
Yeah,
Cam Hayward too. And
Hayward's been a lockdown anchor
Yeah.
for that defense for years.
I think
Yeah,
the
man.
secondary has maybe lightened up just a tad because their defensive line is so good, which they shouldn't. Maybe they're not playing as good as they can because of the guys they have down on the line and their linebackers.
I mean,
But-
that is part of it. Probably.
So, I mean,
They're playing down to their competition, which is something
And
you
that's something Pittsburgh often does.
right.
So-
you can't
they
play
need to-
down. You gotta you
Right.
gotta play at your level. You gotta
Yeah.
play at the championship level. That's how you win.
They're gonna go play the Browns and they're gonna get smacked.
Right,
Because
they're gonna
it's-
play down to the Browns level because I think most people would agree
So
that the
now they're on a
Steelers
turnaround.
are better
Yeah.
as an overall team.
Yeah.
The Browns may have more weapons
Yeah.
and more superstars, but they up until this week haven't played as a team. This was their first week as an offense
I
that
mean,
they showed
And
up.
the
And,
Steelers have all been together for a
If,
while.
Right.
if that secondary plays the way they've been playing against the Browns, Odell is gonna smoke them.
Right. Odell and Jarvis are going to be going
Yeah.
those deep routes a lot in that game.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's
And
something
then,
that's
and
mentioned.
then if you take those away, with that secondary being pulled back so far, trying to protect the deep ball, it's going to Austin Hooper and Harrison Bryant underneath, and then they're just going to run the ball, give little swing routes out to Kareem Hunt, who loves to catch the ball out of the
Yeah,
backfield.
it's good, very good receiver.
I want
like
to see
that.
the Minka in that Colts game last year, where every pass that who was it?
In which game?
The Colts game. Who's that? Colts
Jacoby
coach?
Brissett.
Yeah.
No, not. It wasn't
Colts
Brissett.
quarterback.
It was the backup.
That was Brissett.
No, it was the backup. The
Well,
guy that
Brissett
played
took
for.
over for Andrew Luck.
Oh, yeah.
And then Brissett went down, and it was your quarterback for like a season.
Hoyer.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hoyer.
God.
Hoyer came in, and
Brian
every
Hoyer.
pass he threw.
Don't say my quarterback for a season. He was nobody's quarterback. He played.
He let him.
He was nobody's quarterback.
He was good for like 2
He
games.
was good.
So was Devlin Hodges. All right? No one's saying he was the Steelers, offense. But last week the Bengals said they wanted Joe Burrow to be smarter about taking hits in the pocket. His average pocket time, 2.3 seconds. The NFL low is 2.1, and he is the 4th most blitz quarterback in the NFL. How are you avoiding hits when you don't have anybody to block? And you have literally 2.3 seconds. Matt, we've been calling high school games for this will be our 5th week now.
Yeah.
The fastest we're seeing a quarterback at the high school level release it, and this is a good one, Hayden Gibson from Brookfield.
From Brookfield.
We were timing him, and this was in warm-ups with nobody blocking,
warm-ups.
and no 7-on-7s. This is just straight to your wide receiver. He was putting it out in 2.3.
2.3 seconds.
So the same amount of time it takes.
Very
Yeah,
good. Very good.
that's great. But that's with nobody coming at you.
Yeah.
And that was his wide receivers were just getting 15 to 20 yards downfield and they were cutting back.
Yeah.
So
Go off subject for a second. We got to do that when he's in the live game.
I was gonna say that.
Yeah, we got to do that when in an actual play.
Actually, I think we did call it out the first game we called for them against
Garfield.
Against Garfield, we were mentioning his release.
Yeah.
And actually, he was quicker in the game we just called than he
Yeah.
was in that Garfield.
Yeah.
Because Garfield, when I remember, he was at 2.7
Yeah.
on those
So
releases.
the
So now
injury is-
Karma,
He's gotten better.
yeah, chemistry is working better now.
It's getting better, yeah. And as the season progresses, which is
Right, which is something you hope to see, especially now that we go into playoffs there. Off topic there for a minute. But now, let's move over to the NFC East. The worst division in sports history for the season.
Definitely in football.
Oh,
history.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm thinking all sports. I don't know if
All
I've ever
sports.
seen.
I'm saying
Ever.
for
Ever.
sure in football history. But
Right.
It's just very bad.
I don't even know what you can talk about good.
I don't even know where to start.
I have one thing here. Dwayne Haskins, he was told he needs to start playing better or else things could change quickly.
Yeah.
He's the second best quarterback in the NFC East statistically and put up 314 yards, first 300-yard game in his career, and went 32 of 45. They lost, but that's not really important. Everyone expects them to lose. And here's a comparison between him and Josh Allen. Josh Allen's first 10 starts versus Dwayne Haskins' first 10 starts. First 10, Dwayne Haskins, 11 touchdowns and 6 interceptions, 6.56 yards per pass attempt with a completion percentage of 58.2. In comparison, Josh Allen's first 10 games had 7 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, 6.37 yards per pass attempt with a completion percentage of 52.3. The Bills team that Josh Allen inherited went 9-7 and lost in the wild card game to that Jags team that was really good.
Yep.
Washington football team that Dwayne Haskins inherited went 7-9 and started 0-3 before Dwayne Haskins even saw the field last year. And when they brought him in that fourth game, they were already losing like 29-4
Yeah, so it was
or 29-3 or something.
So is Alex Smith their backup?
No, backup is Kyle Allen, and
I was
then
gonna say.
Alex Smith is just kind of collecting a $20 million paycheck.
Okay. So he's never going to actually play.
And unless they need him to, they'll probably
Odds aren't likely,
let him.
but
Odds aren't likely. I mean, you wouldn't really want to be the coach that put the guy who snapped his leg in half back out there.
Yeah.
Then he goes back out like, all right, guys, done. My leg.
Now, saw it off right here.
If it splits in half next time, just get rid of it. It's not.
Get rid of it.
It's not. It ain't worth it, Chief.
I mean, but credit to him for getting that recovery through.
Oh,
That was
yeah.
very
Same-
challenging.
And same thing with Ryan Shazier, who retired a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago.
he
now?
forced to retire.
Yeah.
No, they weren't going to let him back in,
No.
which is a good call on their part.
Yeah.
But Dwayne Haskins, do you guys think it's time to move on already?
No.
This
It's
was
the
his
second season.
11th start.
That's 11th start, second season.
Yeah.
I mean, he started, what would you say, the third or fourth game last year?
They don't have anybody
he
around
came
him.
in the fourth game. I don't think he started until fifth or
They
sixth.
don't have anybody around him.
No, he has Terry McLaurin.
And that's
And
who
he
always
traded
goes
away
to.
his running back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They have no O-line.
Adrian Peterson was old, but he was still
I mean, you see what
productive.
happens. I know it was in college, but you see what happens when he was at Ohio State. He had weapons around him. He can throw the ball.
And I heard a lot of criticism, people saying, oh, well, he can't throw the deep ball. They keep trying to go deep. And I saw somebody else respond, greatest thing ever. Then why don't you just build the offense he had at Ohio State
That's what I was gonna
and start
say.
throwing slants? It works for Tom Brady. It works for Drew Brees. It works for Big Ben. You notice a trend when it comes to the top quarterbacks of the past 2 decades. They're on offenses specifically designed for them, in which they come in, can throw the 5-yard checkdowns, waiting for the defense to scoot in, but then they can go over the top.
Yeah. I mean,
If you have to set up the deep passes, you can't just walk out there
And like you
and throw a
said-
deep pass every time.
like
It doesn't work.
Like you said, they did it at Ohio State. That's
Right.
why he was so effective. All you got to do is just find a way to do that in Washington. And he's
Yeah.
Give
he
him
can throw the
fast
ball.
receivers.
That's it.
If we look
He
at
doesn't
Dwayne
even have a
Haskins'
running
receiving
back.
core. Paris Campbell, one of the fastest wide receivers in football. Terry McLaurin, one of the fastest wide receivers in football.
The 2 guys he had at Ohio State.
Right. No, Garrett Wilson was a freshman last year. Oh god, there's another speedster out there, but I can't. Olave was on that team.
Olave.
He was
Olave.
young. He's still on the team now. I think he was
Yeah.
freshman or sophomore.
Something
I think.
like
He had a very good year last year.
Right. And like that entire wide receivers were all bullets out there.
Mm-hmm.
Start
Yeah.
putting pieces
The running
that
back,
he knows how
had
to
Dobbins.
use. Yeah, he had Dobbins
Now
and the backup for the Cowboys. one of your backups, Mike Weber,
Yeah, Mike Weber.
yeah.
who was impressive in the season you played with Dwayne.
And,
So I don't think it's time to. Why are we pushing Dwayne Haskins out the door? Who are you going to get?
That's
Trevor
something
Lawrence?
We always tend to look at these guys and
It'd
just
be
want
the
to get rid
same
of them.
story
Right.
with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
The only thing Trevor Lawrence can do at a higher level than Dwayne, I mean, they're about same everywhere else,
Yeah.
is probably mobility.
And like I said, we talk about, I know college is a different level, but talking about these guys that are in college, like Lawrence right now and how Haskins was at Ohio State, that's why they're so good, because they have good guys around them.
Yeah.
We keep talking college here. Let's just put this into perspective. 5 years ago, there weren't running quarterbacks in the league. Lamar Jackson shows up, and they build an offense that allows him to run the football. He wins MVP last year and goes 13-3. Kyler Murray and the Arizona Cardinals. Terrible team. They were awful.
Yep.
Kyler Murray, give him in a college offense that allows him to move around in the pocket and take off. 2-2, and they've shown a lot of improvement.
And they gave him a star receiver, one of the best in the league.
Also,
Yeah.
10 years ago, we didn't see the spread offense in the NFL.
No.
Everyone was running pro style. Nobody was taking snaps out of the shotgun.
There was a few mobile quarterbacks here and there. I mean, you
Right.
know, with
I mean, Ben was mobile in the
Yeah.
early, and so was Drew Brees.
Yeah, and Aaron, Steve McNair back with
Right.
the Titans, and
But no one's run the ball like
Vick as
Michael
well.
Vick or
Yeah.
Lamar. Obviously, Michael Vick opened up everything for the
Yeah.
future. People
Yeah.
got to see it 15 years in advance.
Yeah,
And now it's finally here.
Now it's getting modeled by everybody.
Right. But now we're seeing clubs actually taking the ball out of the shotgun and spread offenses in the NFL. And it's so much better. I don't know how much you guys noticed, but as somebody that didn't used to watch the NFL as much as I do now, the NFL is so much more interesting than it was 15 years ago.
oh yeah. It is.
Watching it is not a snooze fest anymore.
Instead of
Because it used to be, I'm running a ISO offense, I run it up the middle, 2 seconds later the play's over.
20 years ago, you see Doug Flutie running the ball as a quarterback in McNair, and now you see Lamar Jackson and Pat Mahomes, and Kyler Murray,
Even guys like Baker Mayfield,
Yeah,
who,
and
Russell
Baker
Wilson.
Mayfield.
who ran the ball a little bit in
Yeah.
college, but he's not afraid to go out of the pocket. Or 10, 15 years ago, they didn't want guys to get out of the pocket
That's
as
the
much as
thing,
they do
like
now.
the ability-
Now you're almost designing a play to go out of the pocket.
Yeah, like the ability of the quarterback to want to run, and knowing
Right.
there's a chance that he's going to get hit.
And
Now,
it gives the defense something else to
and
think
as-
about entirely.
as
Yeah.
well as Josh Allen. Josh Allen likes to take off
Yeah.
too. Now, do you think
It's something
these
every
quarterbacks-
quarterback has to have.
Yeah. Do you think these quarterbacks that are mostly running and instead of throwing have an inspiration on the quarterbacks that have been thrown for a while? I mean, Big Ben's been taken off a couple times.
Big Ben's
Brady's
yeah.
been taken
And
off.
he's not very quick. again.
Right.
No, but
I mean, he can move.
Ryan
move.
Fitzpatrick led the Dolphins in rushing yards
Yeah.
last year, and he continues to run it more and more. And I think that is. People saw Lamar Jackson, the way he was able to pick apart defenses and pull those linebackers and safeties up and
Wentz-
create those deep routes.
Wentz took off last night and had a run. He's
lucky he didn't
always,
break
yeah,
something, though.
Yeah, he didn't break.
But I don't agree with them trying to pass on Dwayne Haskins already.
No, I
I
definitely
don't.
don't.
I
either.
think no.
Although something did come out today, new coach of the head of the Washington football team said Dwayne Haskins. Every
Ron
quarterback
Rivera.
has Ron Rivera. Every quarterback in most situations they get like a pop quiz by the coaches
Yeah.
just to see what they know. Apparently Dwayne Haskins failed it,
Oh jeez.
but after his performance on Sunday, Ron Rivera said, "We like what we saw out of him on Sunday.
I mean,
We're going to stick with him a little bit longer. He's going to get some more opportunities."
They played the Ravens. I mean, he put 17. They scored 17 points.
Right. He didn't have any passing touchdowns,
No.
but he still had 300 plus yards.
Yeah.
On,
So
a
he's
pretty,
getting it done
on a
some
pretty
way.
good completion night, which
Yeah.
not a lot of quarterbacks have put up great throwing numbers against that defense besides the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Next up, though, one more thing in the NFL before we move along, I think,
Yeah.
unless you guys got some more you want to talk about there. The Jets will not be firing head coach Adam Gase after the loss to the Broncos. They plan to keep him on the squad throughout the rest of the season. Here's an interesting one for you. Winless teams are 7-0 against Adam Gase and the Jets.
That's very sad. What, it was last year's first year, I think? Or was it the year
Potentially. I
before?
don't remember.
But anyway, it's been a short time span since he's been there. That's pretty pathetic. But, I mean, these
That's bad.
teams that are winless just coming in and beating you time after time. It's not a very good situation for them. You got fans protesting wanting you out. That's pretty bad.
Did you guys see when Sam Darnold got sacked by a ghost?
Yeah.
Took the snap and then
Yeah.
just ran backwards and went, ah! and fell over. Sam Darnold literally fell over in the pocket.
He had that special award that Bob Menery gives out.
Yeah, that's right.
He did have that good run though against Broncos. Everybody was talking about it on Twitter. It was, everybody's talking. Talk.
But here's something for you. Greg Williams is that defensive coordinator now with the Jets. If they fire Gase, he could potentially take that head coaching job.
Very bad situation.
But he became that Browns coach for the rest of that season, and he looked promising. Then they brought in Kitchens.
Oh, God.
Dear God.
I don't know what that decision was.
I honestly think that they would have kept with Greg Williams.
That was all Baker.
I don't think it was. At no point in the season did he ever say, I liked this guy.
Yeah.
Like, the entire season was just Baker Mayfield yelling, this is the worst head coach I've ever seen. That was the entire season. That's all anybody yelled. And then you're like, well, this is the head coach you picked. I'm like, when did we ever hear him endorse this guy? Once.
Yeah.
Show me one clip anywhere that he said anything positive about him.
Because most teams wouldn't have hired him, I don't think. Freddie Kitchens. He didn't have any experience going in.
I don't know.
The Browns pick first for everything. So.
Cleveland loves hiring head coaches that just come out of nowhere. They hired John Beeline for a 5-year. The Caps hired John Beeline 5-year, $60 million contract.
And then he retired.
And then he retired halfway through the season.
Yeah.
It was like, wait a minute, what?
Just get that big deal and then.
Baker's staff has been more promising too.
Yeah, he has. The team seems to like him too. We'll talk about that kind of NBA stuff next few weeks here, moving in to next season. We'll probably take a quick NBA break after the finals wrap up until we get to the NBA draft.
Yep.
We'll talk about that when that rolls around, free agency, all of that stuff. We're going to start talking a lot less NBA. Before we move to the NBA today, though, let's go over Major League Baseball.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on. One interesting thing, the Marlins have never lost a postseason series.
Nope.
Never in their entire history. This is the third time they've made the playoffs. They made it in 97 and 2003. Both times for the World Series.
Yeah.
I'm taking them.
Yeah, I'm taking them.
They're playing with house money. They have nothing to lose.
Right. We got nothing on the line here. Another interesting thing. Minnesota Twins have lost 17 straight postseason games. The most in all major pro sports history. Major League Baseball, hockey, basketball, and football.
And, I thought that was very surprising when I first saw that because so I have here their last win in the playoffs was against the Yankees in game, where was it here? But it was in 2004 against the Yankees in the division series. So, and they've been in the playoffs a lot since 2004. So for them to lose 18 straight, that was hard to believe for me.
Right.
And they've had good teams since then. And for them to get swept this year, and they have very good.
Think of the guys they've had on those teams. Joe Mauer comes to my mind. Yeah. I mean, they've had some loaded teams in the past decades.
Yeah, Torrey Hunter.
We talk about the lineup they have this year. It's very, very dynamic. They have guys that hit the long ball. They play good at home. They only watched 8 home games this year. And for them to get swept, both games were at home against the Astros. It's not a good situation.
I want to go back to the Marlins just real quick.
Right.
But the last time you said they won the series in 03. Miguel Cabrera was like their best player on that team.
He was just coming up then.
Yeah, he was just coming up. That was his first year in the major leagues. Now he's on the verge of retirement.
Right.
With Detroit.
It's been that long.
It's been that long.
That was the last time they made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Mind.
Yeah, that's the last
17
time.
years ago.
Most teams don't win this World Series and then never show up for 2 decades.
So the last time they made the playoffs is when Cabrera was a rookie. He's now 37 years old.
Last time they made the playoffs, I was 2.
A lot of stuff going back and forth when we were toddlers.
Yeah. I'm still a toddler.
We know. So the divisional rounds are set now for the AL and NL. AL, it's going to be the Yankees taking on the Rays and the A's taking on the Astros. For the NL, the Padres and Dodgers and the Marlins and Braves. So I think those brackets we may have made up, I think are, on my end, a little busted.
And another quick stat. Each team, or all the teams from both the AL Central and NL Central got eliminated. 4 made it from the NL Central and 3 made it from...
Yeah.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah,
so,
7.
So they all got eliminated. So
the 3 AL Central teams combined for a total of 1 win. Pathetic.
It is very pathetic.
Was this division all hype, or did they just go cold at the wrong time? Because how did so many teams make it?
I think it's a mixture of getting cold at the wrong time and the expanded playoffs. Because
Do you think the expanded playoffs led to some of these teams just getting in when they shouldn't have?
When they shouldn't have.
Yeah.
But some teams take advantage of it, like the Marlins.
Yeah.
Right.
Like
So going forward with this into next season, most likely they'll go back to their regular format. Would you guys ever want to see this again? Because this was interesting. It definitely created a more interesting situation. It's very similar. I mean, it's the exact same bracket that basketball has, and people love it.
I would like to see it.
But you do see a lot of 1 versus 8 sweeps.
That too, but I would like to see it because at least like some people I heard on the radio, they want to see the wild cards round be more than best of 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
I like this being the 2 out of 3. If you
too.
can't win a wild card in 3 games, I don't want to see you in playoffs.
Yeah.
Right, and
exactly.
And like I said, especially in any series of baseball, whether it be 5 or 7, but in a best 2 out of 3 series, you can see, even though we haven't seen it this playoffs, you can see higher seed teams lose.
Right.
And that's what you want to see. And you don't want to, when we go back to playing 160 games, you don't want to play 160 games and then you get in the playoffs and only play 1 game and lose.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen that with the Pirates doing that. They fell in the short.
I feel a lot better about losing 2 straight games than just 1.
Losing just 1.
Yeah.
That's the point of that. I agree with you.
But I don't want a 7-game series for the wild card because more than likely those teams aren't going to be there in a week anyway.
No,
I don't.
There's no point in having these guys play 7 games then to go out there and play 4 and lose.
And it's also going to be. I mean, Major League Baseball playoffs get played in a month.
Right.
So if you start adding series,
if you add a whole series,
but then if you expand them to at least the best out of 5, you're not going to get that done in a month.
No.
So
the Fall Classic is going to become the Winter Classic.
At least till mid-November, and that's not something.
Nobody wants that.
No.
Baseball number are already low enough,
it is.
and I think this season was kind of a good refresher for them.
Yeah.
Because some people were able to watch a lot of games without. You watch like 10 games. Those 10 games may not have even mattered last year when you watch. Now you watch 10 games. It's a quarter of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Every game mattered, and I really I much preferred this season to prior seasons, just because it seemed like games were important. If you won, it was like
every game.
Oh no, you have to win. It was it gave
intense.
It gave credibility to every game. Every game you played meant something. It was just nice to see.
Yeah. And that's another reason why talking about the expanded playoffs, they're gonna have to shorten the season if they want to continue this because, like I said, they want to get this done in a month.
So how many games are we playing now? 162.
162, yeah.
Yeah.
How about like a 120?
120 or like one, around.
Because if you subtract 40 games, you can get about a month and a half where you can add in, if they want to add in extra playoff games, that's when you can do it. An extra month and a half.
I agree, and then that's a
then
way.
You can also have more time in between series. Give me a back-to-back day break or whatever, which never happens in baseball.
Yeah, it never does.
You play 7 days, you take off 1, and you play 7 again.
Yeah.
It's insane. It's an insane schedule.
It is.
I mean, and we're talking about 40 games. 40 games is not that much in a 160-game schedule.
It's almost a season they just played.
Right.
It's only 20 off of 60. What they
I mean, we're saying in basketball, we can determine who the best team is after 82. In football, we determine the best team after 20. In college, we determine it after 15. Baseball, we need 180 total games to determine
it. Yeah.
No, we can shorten this way down and still end up with the same result. I think the only reason they don't do it is because of the records and stuff, and people wanting to try and break those old records need 162 games to do it.
Because people are going to look at it differently if it's not the same length as the season.
It's like, oh man, how did this guy get 45 home runs this year and 30 this year? Where did that happen? It's because you shortened the season. I mean, but that's part of the NFL's been talking about expanding their season. We were talking I think a month ago we were talking about the NFL expanding their season to potentially 17 games, getting rid of one of the preseason games. And like if you go back a few years ago, they were only doing 14 games a year.
Yeah.
So these leagues are expanding; they're getting bigger. The only really 2 leagues that aren't changing are really probably hockey and baseball. Even basketball's been talking about doing a mid-season tournament at some point, like you see in college.
But no, I'm all for reducing the regular season and adding more teams in the playoffs because, as you said, like 162 games, like it's hard to watch it. You can't watch every game.
No, it's impossible.
You just can't. And most of the games, like
unless you're retired.
Yeah.
And even then, they fall asleep in the third inning. Because I've noticed it really bad this season. Like Matt, there was a day you and I we decided to go. We left what game on in the first inning. Me and you went outside to throw a football around.
Yeah.
We came back in about 2 hours later because we threw the ball and we went and got food. It was the third inning.
Yeah.
Was it high
Oh,
scoring?
God.
Or?
No.
No.
It was like, I think, 2-1.
Oh.
Speaking of really long games, though, the Indians-Yankee game became the longest 9-inning game in all of the MLB's history, 4 hours and 50 minutes. In that game, Brad Hand blew the 9th inning save after going 16 for 16 on saves this season. Perfect 16, and they said it right before he blew it. They gave him the old broadcaster's curse.
They did a jinx on him.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, so just a quick recap of that series. It was pretty dominating on half the Yankees. I mean, Cleveland did come back in the game 2, but they did not end up winning. Shane Bieber went first game. These are ace. Didn't turn out good. A 12-3 victory for the Yankees. Game 2, it pretty much was decided when Urshela hit that grand slam.
Yeah, that's pretty much when I decided.
I mean, Indians brought it back to tie it.
Yeah,
6 in the 8th. I
They
think.
did. Yeah.
They tied it at 8 in the 8th.
They tied it at 6, then they tied it, then they took the lead.
Yeah, they took a 9-8 lead into the 9th.
Yeah. And
And Brad Hand blew it.
Yeah.
So you want to talk a little about your tribe? I mean, what's next?
Yeah.
I mean, you talk so much about their pitching,
So,
but come playoff time, they have to be able to hit, which they
It's
really weren't able to
probably
do.
they're
They
probably
didn't
not
get it.
re-signing Francisco.
No.
I think that's the vibe I got from this ending.
yeah.
Francisco's not coming back.
I don't think so either.
I mean, we've kind of been seeing that for a couple
years
now.
I mean, they
They
have
need to get a catcher.
Jose Ramirez locked in. They're fine on catching. Jan Holmes can't hit the ball.
Young Guns isn't with them anymore.
Not Jan.
Perez.
Roberto Perez.
Roberto Perez
I'm not.
can't hit
I'm
it.
not changing him.
No, I like
The
Perez.
pitchers love him
He's
once too
very good
much.
defensively.
Oh, he's very good defensively.
Best defensive catcher in the league, and he has one of the best arms to gun that thing to second. Nobody's outrunning Perez, and he can't
And
hit.
they have two good
He can
backups.
hit.
They're carrying what? Sandy Leon and Hedges.
Austin Hedges.
So
yeah.
they're
I think the outfield is. I mean, Naylor. They finally stopped. What was
Those
it, like
two
5 for
playoff
5 that night?
yeah, and he hit a home run. Those 2 playoff games, he was one of the only guys doing anything offensively.
Yeah.
And they took him out.
Yeah.
It worked.
It worked.
He wasn't upset about
They
it.
brought in Luplow, who was I think batting 161
Yeah.
in the past like 8 games, and he ends up hitting a big one.
Yeah.
But still,
That's the thing. I have all the like I don't know, respect or whatever you want to say for Sandy Alomar, but you are not a major league head manager.
I think
okay?
he could be. I mean, he
don't
knows
know.
the game.
He
but
does know the game. Catchers or former catchers are supposed to make the best managers, but to throw him into this role, I mean, Franco's not doing very
I mean,
well
he took
right
over
now.
halfway through the season. He wasn't expecting that, but
Yeah, but I don't know. I think
where's your criticism of him at? What
think-
part of this game do you think are you blaming on him?
I mean-
Alomar.
Yeah, what are you blaming on Allen?
I mean, I'm not blaming the loop low, but I mean,
because the Luplow was obviously.
but
a good
this is where I think he should have taken Carrasco out earlier. I think Carrasco should have pitched lesser innings. And I don't think you should put Karinchak in. I think
Well, that's where I was gonna go, Matt.
Yeah,
because
I think
you
should have.
take
This is
Carrasco
where,
Karen Check came in too early. That was
Yeah.
it.
well, that's where
This
I'm
is
going.
what
I think you took Carrasco out when the bases were loaded.
yeah.
I think there was like 1 out.
Yeah.
Then you bring in Karen check, and that's when the grand slam happens.
Yeah.
And that's if it was me, I would have left Cookie out there to
I
finish the
would've-
job because
Well,
that's
I
hard to bring a
would've-
bullpen guy in to
I
get out of
would
that jam.
have I would have put Quantrill or Matt Tonin, who they brought
Right, I would've
Maton
put-
in
right.
after Karinchak.
Karen
I would
Check.
have, yeah,
Karen check.
Karinchak, and I would have saved Karinchak at the end there.
That's how I was gonna go. I would have
Brad
brought him
Hand
in,
was
but-
Karen Check needs to be their closer. I
yeah,
know Brad Hand great season
Or at
16
least-
16.
yeah.
but
He needs to be your backup closer.
when
That's where you need to
when
be
Hand was
punching.
starting to
At least you'd set up,
falter,
man.
when
8th
Hand
man or 9th.
when Ham was starting to falter, I think he had bases loaded at a moment, or something like that.
Right.
You know, take him out and put him in. You know,
Yeah, the Wild Thing isn't your 4th or 5th
no,
inning guy.
he's your closer.
He's your 8th or 9th.
They brought out. I heard the whole song and everything they're playing. I'm like,
He's got the Wild Thing haircut.
Yeah.
He just
Wait a
did
minute,
that
why
for the playoffs,
am I
yeah.
hearing the Wild Thing haircut in the 4th inning?
Yeah.
This ain't good.
no.
But if it was me, I would have left Carlos in there to at least try to get
Yeah.
out of it. And if he didn't, then bring somebody else in. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't have brought Karen check in.
No, definitely
In
not
that
him.
situation, and I wouldn't have brought anybody into that situation.
No.
Let Carlos try to get out of that because he
You
caused
think-
that.
Yeah, you think he? Yeah,
But
It's always an interesting decision when you're the manager trying to make that call.
yeah.
He obviously made a decision. It
It's
didn't
tough.
work out.
And honestly,
But I mean, we know he'll be back at
On-
first base next
yeah,
season. so.
honestly, he got lucky with the Lupo call. Okay.
Yeah, it was a questionable. I mean, clearly he saw something going into it, or else he wouldn't have made that decision
Yeah,
to
right.
take out their hottest guy who
Yeah.
hadn't missed a pitch in like the last 6 at bats.
Yeah.
Obviously, he saw something.
Who
Which
was at the
it turned
time?
out
He took one deep
saw.
off Derek
And he was
Cole.
like 5 for 6. Yeah.
I mean, he obviously saw something. He saw it right.
So say
And Brian
the
Luke.
last couple years with Tito, I mean you've seen health issues with him. He hasn't been able to manage.
Yeah.
So I mean,
he's been-
if Alvar were to take over permanently for manager, would you? I mean, how would you feel about that?
I think I'd be okay with it. Yeah. I like Sandy Alomar. I think as years go on, he'd be really good, but he's just not used to that
And just
right now.
you're talking about that
And they
situation.
threw- yeah.
I mean, he's
threw him
been
into that
the
playoff.
first base manager for
Yeah.
how many
He's been there for a
seasons?
while.
It's
Yeah.
a while.
Yeah.
I want to say at least a decade,
Yeah.
At least
been-
that.
he's been
I feel like he's been there for a long
if
time.
not more.
So.
Yeah. So
One more thing I have from the postseason. The Cubs have a postseason batting average of 161 over the last 4 seasons. Considering if you go back one season before it, they won the World Series against the Indians in a 3-1 comeback, and their hitting was phenomenal in that series.
well,
Now the next 4 seasons, 161.
that's what I was going to go
They
with.
had
the
3
Cubs.
seed against the Marlins, and they just destroyed.
Do you think
themselves.
it's time for the Cubs to kind of blow it up a little bit?
Have
Yes.
I
Get
believe
rid
it's-
of Lester. He's old. He can't pitch anymore.
Well, I mean, you have
Rizzo is good, but he wants more money. Okay.
You have Kyle Hendricks, your starting pitcher, under
Yeah.
contract, so I think 2023, and he's one of the best pitchers. But
Um,
I'm talking about, like, their position core. I think it's time to blow it up.
Baez, Javi Baez.
Because
I think it's time to get rid of him.
That postseason we talked about with the Indians, when they won the
Yeah.
World Series, the Cubs, there were times in that whole playoff run where it looked like they were going to be down and out, but they
Yeah.
found a way to respond. I mean, the last couple of trips to the playoffs they've been into, they haven't found any energy to propel themselves in the playoffs.
Right.
So, I
Do
don't
you
know.
think it's time for the Indians to blow up their roster?
No.
What
Well, I
about
mean,
John
if-
Venable
if-
the Great?
If Frankie leaves, like, what do you do?
Frankie leaves, who else? Who's your guy?
You got
I mean,
Uchane.
they brought that
It's
they brought
always
that
this
young
season.
shortstop in on the trade earlier in the season who's supposed to be really good if
Yeah.
Frankie leaves.
And we have Uchane as well.
I mean,
But-
if he leaves,
I mean,
then
but
your
the
guy's
rest of the
probably
team
Jose.
hasn't been hitting either.
No. We don't hit. We
And-
can't
and-
hit. I say
And
get
you
rid
can
of
get a lot of pieces for Jose Ramirez right now
You could.
because at the moment he's MVP caliber
Yeah.
player.
That's where I was going to go with the Cubs, like with Javi Baez. He's a guy I was trying to look at moving.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a guy you can get a big haul for. I mean, he's one of the best. Was he second base or shortstop? I mean,
I
either
think
one,
he's
you can play either
shortstop.
one,
He's
but
shortstop.
you can get a haul for him.
But the
Lindor.
Indians have showed though you need hitting in order to win these games because they went to the World Series on pitching
Yeah.
and
And it carried
lost
them.
because of pitching.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anyone to hit and save them
No.
once their pitching collapsed.
You had
And that was a loaded team with
Yeah.
Kipnis and
and
who was the big power hitter first baseman
yeah.
from Boston?
Yeah.
Mike Napoli.
Yeah,
Mike
Mike
Napoli,
Napoli. Napoli's party. Dude, that guy was
I mean,
amazing.
there was it went Napoli, Kipnis, Lindor,
Yeah.
Jose Ramirez,
You-
Jan Gomes behind the plate,
Then you brought in
and Lonnie Chisenhall out in the field.
Chisenhall.
When he was still healthy, I mean, he was
Right.
decent
Yeah,
himself.
oh yeah. And you also brought in late season pickups in Coco Crisp that year.
Yeah.
And
And
the
you
following-
also who's the guy?
The following year, you brought in Jay Bruce.
Jay Bruce,
Jay
yeah.
Bruce
Jay
the
Bruce
following
was
year,
great. And
Here's my thing with the Indians blowing up their roster.
They
Last time they did it, back in, 07, 08,
yeah.
when they got rid of Hafner and Grady Sizemore and all those guys, CC, that entire era where they blew it up, they got a lot of criticism for doing that, and look where they ended up after they did it.
Yeah.
It worked. Obviously, you don't want to pull the strings and try and go 2 for 2 there, but I don't know, maybe it's the situation you
It's the
start
way to
looking
go.
at.
Yeah.
They got rid of it. They got rid of Sizemore in that 08. They kept on to Hafner for like 4 more years. Though.
Right.
But still,
But
he
they
was the
just were
only
blowing
piece.
up the team.
Yeah.
I mean, there's more they were running out their contract, much like they'll probably do with Jose Ramirez here
Yeah.
at the end of the decade.
Yeah.
Or starting a new one, I
I
guess.
remember they were bringing that 2013 year. They were starting to get more pieces. They had that Jason Giambi. He was getting over, but he was hitting walk-offs.
Yeah.
Here
They
and there.
made the wild card that year.
Yeah. They lost their wild card to Tampa Bay,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, I've always liked the Indians. I like them when they suck, and I like them when they're good.
Right.
You know?
That's how you got to be as a fan.
Yeah.
Especially a Cleveland fan.
Oh yeah.
Or this season a Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
Or any of my teams, too. But
Right. Or the Pirates, or,
The Cavs. Yeah. That's me
All right,
too.
Bat Boy, you got anything else for us?
We got a little bit. We got the Astros and
A's getting underway here. We talked about the Astros.
You want to make some predictions for this next round?
Yeah, I was going to go there. I mean, who do you like in the series? Let me talk about Oakland's past series with the
Yeah,
White
go ahead.
Sox.
that was probably the closest series in the American League side of the
bracket.
Yeah.
Oakland won the series 2-1 after Chicago took Game 1. Lucas Giolito, the White Sox ace, got the win in Game 1 after pitching 7 innings and only giving up 1 earned run with 8 strikeouts. So Oakland then took the next 2 games, obviously, and as their offense woke up, scoring 5 runs in Game 2 and 6 in Game 3 to win the series. So, yeah, who do you like in the series? Astros and A's. I mean, it's a division matchup.
I gotta go with the A's. They've been so good this season.
A's. Yeah, I gotta go with the A's as well.
And you just hate the Astros. So.
Well, I gotta go with the A's because...
And everybody hates the Astros, so...
Yeah, everybody hates the Astros.
Well, but aside from that, I got questions with the starting rotation. I mean, your best pitcher right now is probably Zach Greinke. I mean, right now they got Lance Torres going today, but got 2, and I don't know how their bullpen's going to be.
Who's hurt? Who is the pitcher hurt?
Justin Verlander.
Verlander.
That's a big loss.
Yeah, even though he's getting old.
But their lineup can produce.
Yeah, you still have, I mean, Correa, you have Altuve, Springer, you got Michael Brantley in there as well.
I mean, that entire Astros team, there's a reason they're still back.
Yeah.
On the hill today for the A's, Chris Bassett.
Yeah. And I like their manager as well. I like
Bob Melvin.
The Astros manager.
Oh, the Astros, Dusty Baker.
Baker, I like Baker.
But yeah, a name you might know is Chris Bassett going for the A's today. He's actually had good numbers of the regular season. He put up a 5-2 record with a 2.29 ERA and 50 strikeouts. So they got him going in Game 1. I believe in Game 2 they have Sean Manaea going.
Yeah. Let me go aside for a second. I love watching the playoffs when the Indians aren't in it because I'm not always
You're not stressed out.
Yeah. I love watching the
A's.
Used to it. I love watching the A's and the Braves playing. Freeman had that walk-off hit in that Game 1. That was amazing.
That's why I really loved watching the NBA playoffs last season when there were no Lakers, no Cavs. Yeah. I just sat back and I watched the entire thing and I enjoyed the entire series.
I mean, you want your team to be there, but it's good to just sit back and relax. And
it's nice I'm not to get a break, especially after all the stressful years with Cleveland in the playoffs.
Just watch a good game.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a chance to go watch the Western Conference games. There were so many Game 7s that were incredible. So yeah, like you were saying, it's nice just to sit back sometimes.
And watch it.
Right.
I watched the whole MLB playoffs last year, and when the Nationals won, I thought that was really great.
Yeah.
You see things like that. You
can see things in a different way when your team isn't the one losing.
Yeah. When your team's in it, and if they win, you're always focused on them the whole time. You don't care about the other teams. You're just watching your team.
Yeah.
Right.
So just a little bit more on baseball now. Moving on to the National League side, Dodgers took care of the Brewers, which we all predicted.
Wait. Isn't there another series in the AL you're forgetting about?
Oh,
Yankees
Rays. Yeah, that's a good one. You got Garrett Cole going tonight against Blake Snell, the 2018 Cy Young Award winner. That's going to be a good one.
Who do we got in the series?
It's kind of tough.
It's hard.
Well,
it's so hard to pick against the Yankees.
There's a division, too.
Yeah.
You got to remember one thing, too, though. These teams aren't playing at their home ballparks, they're playing neutral sites.
Right.
So this series is going to take place in San Diego. It's somewhat of a hitter-friendly place, and that's something that works to the Yankees' advantage. I mean, they can put the ball over the fence.
Yeah. So can the Rays this season.
They can, too. Yeah. So it's going to be pretty good to see. I mean, tonight, or as I said, tonight you got Blake Snell going. Tomorrow,
this is a 5-game.
It's 5, yeah. Tomorrow you got Tyler Glasnow going, and then after that you got Charlie Morton going. So that's a good first 3 games going for the starting pitching.
I say I don't really know who's going to win this series. I say whoever takes the first game tonight definitely has the edge, but it's certainly not over. If somebody goes up 2-0 in the series, it's over.
Well, yeah, that's a hard one.
It's hard to just win 3 straight, but I think I like the Yankees because they
you like the Yankees?
Petco Park's it's spacious. It's a little bit bigger than Yankee Stadium, but they're still going to put the ball over the fence. That's what the Yankees do. But it's going to be hard to do because
it's hard. I don't know.
Tampa Bay has a good pitching staff. So it's a coin flip. But
it is a coin flip. Did anyone grab their regular season matchups record?
I did not. I mean, they faced each other 3 times because they're division opponents, but yeah, it's tough. But I think I'm going to go Yankees and...
It's going 5 games, I think.
It's not.
You don't think so?
You want to make yours?
It's never going 5 games.
You ready?
I'll go 4 games to... I'm going to the Rays.
Yeah, I think I'm winning.
Give me a top of Bay.
I hate the Yankees, but...
I think I'll go New York in 5.
It's a good pick.
It's a very good series, too.
But I've been so against picking 7-game series with with like the full 7 or full 5 in this case.
Well, because they're easy to hand out.
Yeah.
Right.
Just say, hey, this team's it's gonna be a challenge. They're gonna win.
If it's too close, you go to the 7. You go a 7-game route. It's almost like I really didn't want to make a decision. I said 7 because
it's a safe pick.
Yeah.
right. It's a safe pick. So that's why I love giving the gentleman's sweep sometimes.
Yeah.
Just giving out one win then.
Right.
Did you make your pick?
Yeah, I think
I'll
go with the Rays. Yeah.
So that's gonna set up a Rays and A's.
Yeah.
The Rays, A's, ALCS.
Rays.
That'd be a good one. I mean, the two small markets going at it. I mean, they just built themselves off of
Right. The battle of $20 million.
less of their talent.
Yeah.
But yeah, as I mentioned, so now we're gonna move. I think that's it for the American League.
Yeah, it is.
National League, as I mentioned, Dodgers took care of the Brewers in 2 games. Not something we were surprised about, and we all expected that.
How'd the Padres fare?
That's where I was going to go here. So this was probably the most hyped series of the whole playoff bracket so far. So San Diego.
Wait, can I take a time out real quick?
Yeah.
Are they San Diego Padres? Isn't Padre father like Spanish?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So are they just the San Diego fathers?
Yeah.
Well, they're
Padre.
Another name for Padre is Friar.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. I was gonna say wait no they are the San Diego fathers because they got their mascot was not the priest but the
friar,
a monk.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go Dads.
I don't think I've ever connected the two Padres being.
Because you don't talk about the Padres that much until this year, but
I've always been so confused by that. I'll say their mascot, not the mascot, their logo character, and I'm like, where does that come from? Never connected.
And it's on their jersey now. I probably like how they brought back the old.
Yeah, it's nice. I was kind of, I don't know how I feel about the brown jerseys though. The brown and yellow.
I don't know how I feel about
it's a weird combination.
But it's old school. And I like
it works for them, yeah.
So they can. It's good for them to.
Padres Dodgers.
Go to that.
How did the Pods do in their series? Would you say?
I think I had it in the last show, but I can't remember offhand. But it was pretty evenly matched. I mean, looking at the
who did they
Padres,
take down?
Cardinals.
Okay, yeah.
So that's where I was going to go. So that's
That
as
was a
I
tight
mentioned, it was
series.
it's probably the most looked at series after the first round. But just a little bit. St. Louis took game 1 as that wasn't really a surprise because I picked St. Louis to win the series. But so in game 2. The Padres were actually up 7-6 in the 7th inning. Fernando Tatis Jr. came up to hit a 2-run homer in the 7th to extend the lead, and the Padres wouldn't look back. And I think that was a moment in that series where, just watching as a fan, and maybe even for St. Louis, like that probably was a turning point in the series because they realized that San Diego's not there to mess around.
Right, they're a legit team.
Yeah. So then moving on to game 3, San Diego won. What was the score there? By a score of 4-0. So this was San Diego's first playoff series win in 22 years, going back to that '98 team when they made the World Series with the Yankees.
Oh wow!
Led by Tony Gwynn. So it's been a while for them to win a playoff series. So yeah, what do you guys think about the series?
I mean, the series was. I mean, it was good. I didn't see too much of it. I was watching a lot of NBA and other stuff. They seemed to be on at the same times.
Yeah.
For whatever reason. It was weird. There were a lot of days where the NBA was just overlapping with every other thing on television.
It sounds.
Which is-
You had to watch the
Which is
NBA
kinda
or
unfair.
anything else.
Which is kind of unfair, I think.
To who?
I don't know.
Okay.
Baseball, though?
Just watch whatever you want.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
do you have anything on the series or on that series?
Not really, no.
Like I said, I didn't see too much of it,
I
but
didn't see too much.
I didn't watch too much either.
Padres impressive in the game 3.
Yeah. I mean, just listening to a little bit reaction after. I mean, for Tatis to hit that home run, I mean, it was coming out party. I mean, we all know it's good, but
I
that
think
turned the
that they let their grip loose on a little bit.
St. Louis?
I'm talking about San Diego.
Oh,
St.
Padres.
Louis got a little bit of the best of them. If they do that against the Dodgers, they're going to get swept. So
Right.
Yeah.
You can't lose games to the Dodgers.
no, they
Not games that you were leading at some point.
Yeah, they
If you
should've
take the
came
lead
out-
against the Dodgers, you have to keep it.
If you really want to show us that you're a good team, you should have came out and swept St. Louis.
Yeah.
And moved on. No
So
problem.
predictions: Dodgers, Padres.
You got Dodgers in 4.
Mike,
Yeah, I'm gonna go Dodgers 4.
I'm gonna go Dodgers in 3.
That's fair.
That's fair.
I like the Padres a lot. I've been a big fan of them this season. Man, those Dodgers are bad.
They're bad.
There's a bad group of boys up
And I
there.
know this is
You
obvious.
got bats? Oh, man.
I know this is obvious, but I think it'd be different if San Diego had their 2 best pitchers.
Right. I mean, that's part of it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's hard to go in a series against a team this good without your best group.
What they've done, the last couple weeks of regular season, not having Clevenger did pitch, but he wasn't always healthy.
Right.
And going into this, I mean, for them to win that series against Cardinals was hard to do with two of your starters out. I mean, St. Louis is a good team, and they had control of their series for the entire game one and then halfway through the game two. So, yeah, I just think it's going to run short for the Padres and, going up against the Dodgers.
How about the other series in the NL? The big one. The one everyone's talking about. The Marlins and the Braves.
Oh,
it's a lot of small market teams
this
year.
I don't think I'm going to count out the Marlins.
No, I'm not.
I'm
not saying they're going to win.
I'm going to give my prediction right now. I'm going Marlins in 4.
You go Marlins in 4? You think they're going to beat the Braves?
The Braves are a different team in the playoffs. They won
are.
last year, too.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw them lose to the Cardinals.
Hey, Marlins are 100% in playoff series.
Yeah, they're a different team in the playoffs, too.
Yeah.
Clearly. Well, we haven't seen them there in 20 years, but last time they were there. Last time.
As you said, they haven't lost the series.
2 for 2.
2 for 2.
I mean, it's...
It
would be technically impossible to bet against them.
I like Jesus Aguilar.
I would go to Vegas right now if it wasn't being overrun in bad situations. And put money on the Marlins.
It's hard to not... I mean, they're just playing relaxed. They're playing with house money. They have nothing... I mean, they're still in a rebuild.
They're playing with nothing to lose.
They just won a playoff series in their middle of a rebuild. So their rebuild's not over. No. I mean, they're still playing with the guys that nobody's known of yet. They just came up last year. I mean, they have a couple veterans that you mentioned, Aguilar and Starling Marte.
Yeah.
But they have nothing to lose.
They have nothing to lose. They're going to go... And that's what makes them the most dangerous team in this playoffs right now. They have nothing to lose.
And as we have
they're willing to try anything. If they lose, oh wow.
As we have
they're waking up feeling dangerous every day.
Oh, yeah.
Got to throw the old goal reference in there.
But, yeah, I mean, as I mentioned with the A's and a couple other teams in this playoffs, like, these smaller market teams, they're getting here with players that we don't know of.
No.
And the Marlins are...
that's what the Indians have done for a long time, though. Everyone they bring in is normally...
They're not top prospects.
They get them as prospects, yeah. They bring guys up on their own.
Player development is something that, these teams rely on.
Right.
Like with the A's and now you're looking at the Marlins, and that's something Indians have done too, especially with their starting pitching.
Right. I mean, their entire pitching unit is almost self-made.
Yeah. So, that's... did we make a pick up?
I'm going to go...
Better be taking Marlins.
I think I'm going to take them.
Yeah, there we go.
I got to go Marlins. Yeah, I'm going it. Even though I'm going to root for the Braves, I'm taking the Marlins.
How many games?
I'm going to go...
3.
I'm going to go 4 games, okay?
Listen, I'm going to go...
Woo!
I'm going to go Marlins in 5. Because I believe if they get to a 5th game, they have nothing to lose in the game.
I'm riding on the bandwagon a little bit here. I like to see teams who
aren't normally there.
Yeah, who suck the past decade.
But that's why
past 2 decades. Yeah.
That's why I would like the Marlins in a game 5.
I like the Braves though. I like
the Braves are gonna if it's in a game 5, the Braves are gonna have pressure on them because you just saw Miami take down the Cubs, and they probably shouldn't have.
No,
they had no business.
You had the Cubs going into the series, didn't you?
I did.
No, he did. He did the Cubs.
I did.
Oh god.
My man's over here spazzing.
All right, where are you going? Marlins what? I think you're taking Marlins, aren't you?
Yeah, I already said Marlins in 4.
Oh, 4.
Marlins in World Series. Marlins are gonna beat the Dodgers. That's it.
Okay, how about this? If they make it past this series, I'll take the Marlins against the Dodgers.
Okay.
I know I will be wrong.
Well, because nobody thought the Nationals would beat the Dodgers last year.
No.
And they won the World Series.
I mean,
they won the World
hey,
Series.
the Dodgers can't get it done. They've shown it.
They showed they can't do it in the playoffs. They've had great teams the last couple
They're
years.
like the Ravens.
They're like, yeah.
I mean, they make it farther than the Ravens ever have in a while. So you got anything more for baseball, Bat Boy?
That's about it.
All right.
That's as playoffs removed. I mean, we just division series
That
starts
far,
today.
All right, moving on. Next group here, National Basketball Association, the NBA Finals. Give me a minute here.
We got 3 games to get into because we.
We got a few games to get into. Before we get into those, I gotta talk to the camera for a minute here because I issued a challenge to LeBron James. LeBron, not only did you fail the challenge, if you want to know what the challenge was, you could go watch the video or wait 5 seconds when I tell you. I would recommend go watching the video. It's pretty good. I edited it together myself.
This was a efforted video.
Probably one of the most efforts we've ever put into a single video. Yeah.
All in a whole 2 minutes.
It took 2.5 minutes, and that was the most we've ever put into a video.
You shouting.
It was a great video. So I challenged LeBron for the first time in his career to sweep a team in the finals. He's never done it. It's happened to him twice. He's also lost 4-1 twice. So I was issuing the challenge to go out there and do it. They failed last night. Plain and simple. They didn't get it done.
Jimmy Buckets.
And not only did LeBron and the Lakers fail the challenge, LeBron failed altogether on Sunday night. LeBron, for the first time in his career, let's see if I got it here, he was outscored, out-rebounded, and out-assisted in a finals game. Jimmy Butler beat him in every single category.
I think he had like
LeBron had 23 points
Butler,
too.
I think he turned it over 7 times against Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
That's
He also,
a good amount.
In the first quarter of that game on Sunday, it was also the most turnovers the Lakers have had in a single quarter, in that first quarter alone. They trailed by 13 at one point. They came back, tied it. Then they were trailing by 14, came back and tied it. And then the Heat pulled away a third
I
time.
think they had a 2-point lead at some point in that fourth quarter.
They took the lead. And what's so impressive about this, LeBron was in the perfect situation. The Heat, back-to-back games were without Goran Dragic and Bam Adebayo. They took the first one. The first 2 games of this series has not been close.
Yeah.
I mean, it was almost like they were in LA. Now we go to game 3 in Miami, even though they weren't in Miami.
They were in the same place.
Right. In the same place, but somehow it seemed like Miami became the home team and dominated. I don't know what it was.
Well, and we don't know what it was. Maybe it was what they did in Game 3 at Miami, but Jimmy Butler said they figured something out. Even Eric Spoelstra said that. So they executed the game plan in Game 3 and it worked out.
You know what they figured out? They need to foul out AD early.
They have to rebound.
Two early fouls in the first quarter. LeBron normally after 6 minutes, he goes out and he'll sit out normally until the end of the first, come back into the start of the second. LeBron James was forced back into the game. He left at, I think, 6:23, came back in at 5:23 because in that 1 minute span, Anthony Davis had 2 fouls and Jimmy Butler had 4 free throws.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Butler's also I know it was a point last night to put up the stat. He was 26 for 27 on free throws in the series. So don't put him on the line. But
And talking post game, I heard Jimmy Butler say, they asked him what the biggest difference was for them in Game 3 compared to the previous 2 games. He's like, the biggest thing was we just rebounded.
right.
I mean, they got 8 up in Game 2.
Yeah.
Especially just by one person in AD. By
LeBron. LeBron dominated the boards in both those first 2 games. Yeah.
But AD was just getting putbacks. He was just grabbing and just putting back up, and he was getting easy layups off.
I didn't see Dwight Howard as much in this game as they played him in the first 2, though, which was interesting to see. They didn't play their big guys. They were... Well, also, one thing I noticed in this series, they're playing Houston Rockets basketball. They're living and dying by the 3.
And that's not the Lakers.
In Game 2,
style.
It was the most 3-pointers the Lakers have ever attempted in a ball game.
Really?
Which is why they won
I
by
did see
so
that
many.
today, yeah.
Yeah. In Game 2 on Friday, I think it was. Insane. Jimmy Butler in this game, though, joined Jerry West and LeBron James as the only players to have a 40-point triple-double in the NBA Finals. Jimmy Butler put on one for the ages.
He put on a very good
He's coming to
display last
play.
night.
He didn't
If
wanna
they
get slapped.
come back here...
Maybe Jimmy Butler, what's your challenge? Is like, I'm not getting swept.
And that's
No,
interesting.
I'm
because they're
trying to
missing
win.
2. They're missing Dragic and Adebayo.
Yeah.
They could be coming back next game or
Yeah.
two.
So
So
things
it's
get
interesting.
Skip Bayless said after Game 1, it was Bam Adebayo made Anthony Davis look like, I believe he said Wilt Chamberlain.
Yeah, I did
He
see
just
that.
dominated
I
that
saw that.
much.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh man, so interesting. Maybe what they found was Adebayo couldn't guard AD, but Kelly Olynyk could.
And Kelly Olynyk is a very good offensive
He had a
player
steal
for his
coming.
position.
The Lakers looked terrible last night. They had no communication out there either.
Yeah.
And they were breaking just about every shot. At the end of Game 2, it was interesting. LeBron came up to AD after the game, and it said something in his ear. AD then kind of left the court with his head down or whatever, which is weird even because they destroyed everybody in that game. Game 3 comes out. AD does really nothing. Makes you start wondering, what did LeBron say?
What is? Yeah, even the reporter asked him what he said.
He said in-house.
Yeah, in-house. Yeah.
Interesting to start thinking there. Yeah. What was interesting afterwards is, I believe this was after Game 2, Anthony Davis did come out and say he wants to go to 9 more NBA Finals with LeBron James.
9
One.
more?
That would make them the greatest duo of all time, unquestioned.
Dude,
To go to 10 finals
Have to
together.
play how long?
2, can we even fathom what 9 more years of LeBron could look like? It took 16 seasons to get 10. If he was to get 9 more, he would play a total of 25 seasons, and he would also be aged 44. That is if they would go to 10 straight.
So he would make 17 out of 18
and by the way,
finals.
they gotta win this one too.
No, he didn't say. He
didn't
didn't
say
say win. He just said, "I want to make 10 more finals. 9 more finals with LeBron."
So like I said, he would have to make 17. That would be 17 out of 18
Oh jeez.
if that were to happen. That's
So we're talking about the entire decade, the 20s. Nothing but Lakers,
yeah,
unless they switch teams.
which can't happen.
Yeah, I don't see that happening.
I don't know. Here's my
44
thought.
LeBron out there putting
Here's my thing. He said he wants to go with LeBron James. What if he was talking about Junior?
Oh!
Hey, how about that one?
So Anthony Davis is coming to the Cavs because that's who.
You think
brought-
we're kidding him? Please.
The Cavs are gonna be at least better by then. They're not gonna be a number 1 overall pick team by then.
Number 1 pick in that draft, I
Well, it'll be
guarantee you, will
fixed.
not be LeBron James Jr.
It'll be fixed.
It might not be.
I think it will be Mikey Williams. I think he's really good. And,
What
I mean,
about,
he's the number
what
1
about
prospect
Wade's
right
kid?
now. And that Wade's kid's dropping hard. He might be a 2nd-round pick at this point.
Yeah.
He's been tanking. Then I think O'Neal's kid is either the year before or that year. And then a lot of other guys. This one prospect, Imoni Bates, he's really good too. Then even we're talking this season, there's a lot of guys that are really good that obviously we'll get into as we get
It's
closer
a
to the
very
draft.
deep one.
Before and after the draft, we'll be talking about that. We might do a live draft video too.
We did
that for the NFL, the first round.
Yeah.
That was a really long video.
Oh, it was.
Oh my god.
Well, the drafts take so long.
Right. It took us 4 hours to record, and I think it's a 45-minute long video. That's how, because we would just do, we start talking about it, make the pick, then we talk about the pick, and then I stopped the recording and waited 15 minutes for the next pick. And that's how it went. Matt and I think by the end of it, we're just like, oh, cool. Yeah, this guy's pretty good. Next.
Keep moving on.
Well, when you're
I
taking
kept
a
on
lineman with the
saying-
23rd pick, what am I going to say? I don't know who this
That's what
guy
I'm
is.
saying. Every team was gonna pick the guy from Penn State.
Yetur Gross-Matos.
Yeah, Yetur's gonna get picked.
There was one moment during that video, I loved it. Somebody...
Where did he end up going?
Carolina, I think, right?
I think you're right.
Potentially.
Yeah, Yetur Mas. Yeah, he went
Gross
to.
Matos.
Yeah, Gross Matos. He went to Carolina. Yeah.
I don't remember who it was. There was one of the... Oh, it may have been when the Colts picked one of the Ohio State players. You hear, if you're listening closely, I go... I got really excited at that moment because I didn't think he was going that high. And I just go... there's a literal gasp in the show. It's hilarious.
I was so mad when Pittsburgh didn't pick Dobbins. I was like screaming.
Oh, you were pissed that entire
I was
first
so
round.
mad.
How could nobody pick Dobbins?
How could nobody pick him? And then the Ravens picked him, and now he's tearing it up.
Right.
Everybody, you're stupid for passing on this guy. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, though, who was the first running back.
He worked.
He's
He's
working.
done
He's
good.
working.
It has worked.
I mean, none of the other running backs besides Dobbins have done much. Jonathan Taylor's done pretty good
Yeah.
in a
but
few
nothing
situations.
to-
Nothing to write home about
Yeah.
though.
Exactly.
But before we go into any more NBA stuff, we got some big news coming out from Adam Silver, the commissioner, about the 2021 Olympics. So as we know, those got postponed until next year due to Corona. NBA sent a tentative start time for November, December, depending on when that goes off. Adam Silver said if the NBA starts late, they would most likely not pause the season for the 2021 Olympics. This creates a really interesting position for a lot of players, considering Greg Popovich, is coaching the team this year. LeBron James, 3-time Olympic gold medalist, has said he wants to play in the Olympics this year because he wants to play for one of the greatest coaches in NBA history.
Yeah.
Now this brings up a real interesting situation of how are some of these players going to do both? You know, or if they're going to be able to do both, are some of these teams going to allow these players to even go play somewhere else for a few months?
It's something I talked about. Like if the NBA were to start in December, for example, I would probably have the season shortened, so you can start the playoffs in April when it usually does start. And that's they had a shortened season.
So you'd go back short seasons just to get your schedule
just
back
to get
on
it back
track.
on normal.
It's possible.
That's what I would do. I mean, they did it with the lockout in I think 2012 or something like that.
I
But
mean,
they
the
had to do
season
it.
wasn't
But
shortened that much.
I think they played like 60.
It was
something games.
76, 75,
somewhere around
76. So 6 games less. I
That's
mean,
what I would do. So then
they could probably
you
go
still
to
get
the
guys a chance
40,
to play in
50
the
game
Olympics.
schedule, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be a difficult decision for a lot of these guys to make, especially guys like LeBron. I mean, maybe for the first time in a long time, we see U.S. basketball actually be made up of amateur athletes like it's legally supposed to be, because pretty sure you have to be an amateur to play in the Olympics.
Yeah.
I don't know whatever happened to that rule, because I don't think hockey listens to that, and basketball hasn't
Well-
listened to that in decades.
Well, hockey was amateur, and now I think they're actually going back.
Are they?
Yeah.
Because even boxing is still is amateur in wrestling, and you can't have any guys from like UFC or like can't have Floyd Mayweather go represent the U.S. Just send money over there. All right, back to
McGregor over there fighting the UFC in the Olympics. Who would he be for?
Ireland.
Yeah.
Ireland, yeah, that's right.
Kyrie Irving, though, everybody's favorite nut job. Everyone's favorite flat earther too.
Yeah, yeah.
Had a controversial statement come out about new head coach Steve Nash. He said,
This one.
I don't really see us having a head coach. KD could be head coach. I could be head coach some days. This was after the hire of recent MVP Steve Nash. He was hired. KD came back out and said he agreed with Kyrie too.
So
So
it's not
both
just Kyrie.
of them just came out and said, "Yeah, we don't really care who you hired. Doesn't really matter. I didn't pick him." KD literally said, I wasn't part of the decision." It's like, oh God,
Well,
you guys haven't
you're-
even played like 5 minutes on the floor together.
not supposed
You
to.
already have this tension.
You're not supposed to be part of the decision, okay? You're just a player. We pay you to play, okay?
Right. Unless your
It's
name's
not your
LeBron James
decision.
or Michael Jordan, you're
Yeah.
not having any input on who the head coach was. And Michael Jordan didn't have an input on this head coach.
No.
Well, that's where I was going to go. Like,
Or else they would have 4-peated or 5-peated.
that's where I was going to go. I mean, we always often joke about it, whether it is true we don't know, but about LeBron always being a coach killer or picking the coaches he wants. I mean, so now you're hearing players openly talk about it. So is it something we're not just making up? I mean, is it something that is true that players do? They don't care who the coach is. I mean, they're pretty much saying it right there.
Yeah, I don't care who my coach is. I'm the guy out there. I don't know. Maybe there is some
I wonder how
truth
So
in
is
that.
it like a
gonna
coach
take
you
that.
have is
So how's Nash gonna take down one?
right? He's never coached before.
No.
Right.
Being a
I'd
head
be pretty
coach.
mad.
I come out there first day in practice.
You're
We
bench.
running laps the whole time. You ain't stopping running laps until you puke, and then I'm gonna make you do it again.
I would implement that type of mentality.
There's been a lot of coaches. They coach you by making everyone hate me as the coach. It's a legitimate style. That's how the U.S. won the Olympics against Russia in the
Do you
most
think
famous
that-
series of all
Do you
time
think
in
coaches
hockey.
still
Yeah.
make their NBA players run laps like that? Do you think that's just a high school technique?
No, I would do it anyway.
I don't do it at any level.
I don't know who's telling LeBron James to start running, but I
You
mean,
have to hold guys accountable for
Yeah.
something.
Get running or you're fine.
I feel like some guys would make themselves run. In certain, like LeBron James, none of those coaches are going to the guy in his year 20 and be like, "You gonna run laps today?" The guy's like, "Bro, my knee is so destroyed after Sunday. No, I can't run. Kidding me? I'm 43." Udonis Haslam. Oldest guy in the NBA. I mean, we're talking LeBron James going, if he then that 9 more at finals, he'd be older than Haslam is now, and he's the oldest guy in the NBA today. That's insane.
And he's been with the same team for all that time.
Yeah.
Right. Haslam, not LeBron.
Yeah, hasn't.
Kyrie, that wasn't all he said this week. He had another controversial statement.
Just shut up.
He also said this week, quote, that this is the first time in my career I can look down and be like, that mother effer can make the shot too. He was talking about Kevin Durant. He's saying he's never had a guy he's felt like in the end of games can put up that shot as well. And I feel like that's a lot of disrespect towards, one, LeBron James, two, the entire Boston Celtics team.
Yeah.
It's like, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
I don't really have a response to that, honestly.
How are you supposed to respond to when Kyrie opens his mouth?
Yeah, because you don't know what he's gonna say.
Right.
It's oftentimes bogus what he does.
Idiotic and moronic.
Yeah.
The world is flat.
I don't have nothing to say on that. Because
On
it's
the flat
obviously
Earth or Kyrie?
the Kyrie and the Kevin Durant comment was it's not true. It's not true. I don't have anything to say about it.
Man, you got anything?
He's an idiot. Move on.
Okay. Well, so Los Angeles Clippers blew the 3-1 lead.
Yep.
They fired head coach Doc Rivers.
Yep.
And head coach or owner Steve Ballmer reportedly wanted to trade away every single player and fire every single coach after they blew the 3-1 lead to the Nuggets in the Western Conference semifinals.
It's a little bit extreme.
So you're gonna trade Kawhi away?
Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Montrezl Harrell, Ivica Zubac, who played great off the bench, Lou Will, Matt
Beverly?
Bat Beverly. Yeah, I mean it's like insane. Like what? Hold on. Although apparently there was some things that came out after that Game 7. Paul George went back into the locker room, was like trying to convince everybody, all right, guys, we had a great season. We had a lot of things go right. Everyone, we need to come back next year, do it all again, get back here. And apparently he was met with a lot of silence. So, I think it's time to start questioning how great of a leader Kawhi Leonard is, because he got a lot of credit out in Toronto for being a great leader.
Yeah.
And now it doesn't seem like this team has any leadership whatsoever.
And when your leader's like him, he doesn't say anything.
Right. He leads by example when your example is blowing a 3-1 lead. As it was funny because there was a reporter that asked LeBron what does it feel like to blow a 3-1 series. And LeBron went, I don't know. Go ask Kawhi. He legitimately said this in an interview like a straight up baller. Just one of those things. How bad is... I mean, the
I
Clippers
can
just...
tell you how
Why
what
they
it's
ask
like
LeBron? He's
to
never won
come
a
back
3-1
from a 3-1
Yeah, I don't know why they asked
Why'd they
him.
ask him that?
I think they were just trying to get him to say something funny, yeah.
He can definitely tell you what it's like to come back from a 3-1.
Right, he can tell you
He's
that.
never blown one.
No, he's
No.
never blown one. Uh-oh.
Knock on
What we
wood.
would do this series if it ends up being that way.
That'd be crazy.
Yeah,
would
it
be.
would be.
Cavs won Game 2 against the Warriors when they did that, though, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
What-
No,
I
they
have
lost the first two.
I have
One
the post
game.
in my room.
So they won Game 3.
I have the whole thing.
November.
So they lost the first two. They
Yeah.
won Game 3, lost Game 4, and then
Yeah.
then
They
Oh.
killed.
back.
They killed him in Game 3. I think it was like 120 to 90.
Yeah, that was at home. They put on a rout in that game.
Yeah. And they lost.
Dun, dun,
But,
dun.
so this could be the same way as the Cavs. I mean, Miami just came back.
We'll see the Lakers come out Game 4, blow them out. Then,
Here comes
5,
Jimmy
6,
Butler.
7.
Put it away, but anything can happen.
although, if LeBron goes up 3-1, I wouldn't start betting against him to lose.
Yeah, right.
LeBron James loves those Game 7s, Game 5s, and 6s.
So he might let it get to there.
He honestly, he'd be like, I'm just going to, let them have hope. And then, once they get there, just like,
He's gonna
get out of here! I pity the fool!
He's gonna do the rope-a-dope.
Yeah. Just kind of take the shots,
Yeah, yeah.
and then boom!
Boom!
You're out. You're on the ground. You knocked out.
You lose.
More drama from another team. Trouble in Sacramento. Buddy Hield will no longer answer any of the phone calls from head coach Luke Walton. Sacramento said that they expect him to be ready for training camps based on their communication with him. And they will not be making a rush to trade him before the next season. Sacramento has not had a winning season the past 5 years. Well, what are you guys getting out of this one? Buddy Hield, he hasn't said he wants out. He just doesn't
Where'd
like
he
Luke
go?
Walton.
Oklahoma, right?
Yeah,
I think
so.
That would be
Okay.
weird. Or
Yeah.
that wouldn't be good for them to, if it did get worse, for them to try to look moving him if he did
One of
request
the
a
best
trade,
3-point
because-
shooters in the
Oh,
league.
yeah.
That too, and like they
He
have
hit that
they have
buzzer.
a good foundation in
I remember-
Sacramento. Even though they haven't made the playoffs, but they have something to build
They
on.
got a lot of young guys.
Yeah.
I remember when the Oklahoma had him and they were like Elite 8, something like that in the March Madness. He had like a buzzer beater game where, but that it ended up getting called back because it was the ball.
After the
Yeah, it was after a buzzer. I
clock
don't know
was
if you
fired.
remember that. Dick Vitale was going crazy. Then he was all silent afterwards. She's like, "Buddy, he'll be here." Oh, not really.
But yeah,
But,
that wouldn't be a good situation.
But even though the shot, like I was saying, like even though he the shot didn't count, he can hit shots like that.
Oh, yeah.
He can
Right.
go out and hit them.
He's a very good
That's
3-point
what-
shooter.
I wasn't just crapping on him.
All right, one more sport to cover here. College football,
Oh.
my favorite.
Oh wait, did we say anything about Doc Rivers getting hired? with
No,
Sixers?
Was he officially hired?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was.
Okay.
October 3rd. So
Ah, okay, I didn't see
so that'd
that.
be fun when you were saying to trade everybody with a bunch of players like what Pat Beverly went over to the Sixers.
Right.
and-
How many guys start switch out to
Like,
the East?
the
Like,
guys
well, we
who've
can't beat
been
LeBron
there-
in the West.
Like the guys who've been there for a while, like Pat Bev and Lou Will, they've been with Doc Rivers forever. I mean,
Right. There's
So-
some guys that want him as their coach,
Yeah.
period. Now, obviously, he fits in. Lou Will fits in that system pretty good.
what happened?
Home
What
run.
happened?
Oakland took a 2-0 lead. I think that was a 2-run shot by Chris Davis.
Chris Davis.
Yeah, 2-0
Oh, man,
in
that
the
was-
second.
Yeah, in the second inning.
I remember a little personal story. I remember I was at an Indians game when they played the A's, and I was like first baseline, and Chris Davis was like 10 feet away doing his stretches and stuff. Like Chris Davis, and he didn't even bat an eye. Like, ooh, that idiot in the red Indians jersey.
Some kid yelling my name.
One of the
I
best,
said like 10 times, Chris Davis.
one of the best home run hitters in the league,
Oh
probably.
yeah, he's good.
But back to basketball.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to give an update there.
I just had to say that.
All right, let's go NCAA.
Oh, okay.
Heisman candidate so far. So a few games into the season. Obvious ones, Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence. Those guys are pretty much at the top. We're still
Yeah.
waiting for Justin Fields to start playing before that becomes serious there. Kyle Trask has actually moved into first place. He's been incredible for Florida. They're
Yeah.
currently, I think, number 4 in the country. KJ Costello in the air raid offense for Mississippi State has been awesome. Costello keeps breaking SEC records that were set last year by Burrow. Spencer Rattler, now 0-2 in the Big 12 for Oklahoma. He's fallen down the list,
Yeah.
still putting up good numbers in those games. I don't think he'll be able to pull it back yet.
No.
Mac Jones for Alabama, incredibly impressive. I think he had 300-plus yards, 5 touchdowns, and a pick in the game over the weekend against number 13 Texas A&M, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
I just
De'Aaron
wanna
King is the final guy
I just
on
want
the
to go and say
Heisman
that
list.
Texas A&M is probably one of the most overrated teams ever.
Give me some.
Yes, I hate that team. Every single year.
Yeah,
they
they're
get put in
always
the top
ranked.
15, and they never win.
Especially
Never
under
win.
Jimbo Fisher, too. All the hate
Yeah.
with him.
I hate them.
They're
I hate them.
horrible. I hate them.
Literally every season they get like they'll be like 3 and 3, and they'll be ranked 19th, and I'm like, why?
They think they're hot stuff because they had Manziel and beat Alabama one time. No.
The only reason they ever get mentioned is because they're in the SEC.
Yeah.
And this is why people have a problem with SEC bias, as people would say, because they rank teams like Texas A&M.
They're horrible.
Why?
They're horrible. Okay.
Oh God. Speaking of Oklahoma being 0-2 in the Big 12, this is the first time that's happened since 1998.
Oh, jeez.
That's bad. Not real bad.
Very bad.
So, Lincoln Riley, the quarterback whisperer, what happened? 1-2 on the
He's
season?
not whispering anymore.
Right. Now he's screaming. He better
Yeah.
start being the quarterback screamer.
Now he's not whispering anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, someone turned off the sun, I guess. This was a weekend of upsets. I don't know how much you guys got to watch. If you viewers were watching on Twitter, our Twitter feed was going insane most of the day. That was me, just for future reference.
That was me. Yeah.
Well, let me count the upsets. 6 top 25
And
upsets
I called
this
the
weekend.
upset over. Well, I picked the upset over South Carolina, Florida, and it wasn't
Yeah.
really a blowout. South Carolina kept into it, and they almost beat Tennessee the week before, which why I decided to try and pick an upset.
Right.
And
So here are all the upsets. NC State upset number 24, Pitt
By
30-29.
1 point! by 1 point.
Oh, it was a
Bad loss
I
for
was
Pitt.
pissed.
that was an amazing game to watch. Though I don't know
Oh,
how
it
much
was
that game
good.
you
It
guys
was
caught.
good.
Especially the last couple minutes.
Yeah.
It was, people.
Yeah.
There was both teams were scoring. It was going a little back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
But I talked about the Steelers like playing.
I
down
talk
competition.
crap on Pitt a lot, but I actually like Pitt.
They were also prompts of the season, and
Yeah.
then they just threw it out the window.
Oh.
That's we talked a little about the Steelers like playing down in the competition. That's what Pitt often does too.
Right.
Playing
They got a
down-
lot
I
of
mean,
they got a lot of good talent on that team. I
They
was
do.
surprised
Very
having
good
seen them up there.
Pickett is good. I like Pickett. Who's that receiver that had that wide open? He was wide open.
I don't know. I think I had the Pitt game muted because I had something else on the big
He
screen
was
for that
number
one.
3. I forget his name.
But their defense is
Yeah.
no joke, probably one of the best in college football.
Yeah.
Right.
It's good.
Next upset, Texas. Back-to-back weeks where they've gotten pulled into a late one. They pulled it off last week against Texas Tech in overtime. This week, TCU closed the door on the comeback, won at 33-31 over number 9 Texas. They've dropped pretty far in the rankings now. Number 25 Memphis lost 27-30 to SMU. That was a great. SMU played great in that game. Memphis played awful. Another team that's played really awful this season, despite having a perfect record until last Saturday, UCF. Number 11 UCF lost to Tulsa 34-26. Their penalties have been abysmal this season. They're one of the highest penalized teams in college football, and it's been awful.
Yeah.
You know, they deserve to lose. There's not a lot of teams where
Well,
most teams deserve to win. This team deserved to lose. They played so bad.
Yeah.
The next one up, Oklahoma, back-to-back weeks. Iowa State took them down 37-30 this time. Oklahoma has now dropped out of the top 25. They were ranked 18th. And Iowa State jumped into the top 25.
Yeah.
I think they they jumped to 23, I think is where they had them. And then Arkansas pulled off the upset against number 16 Mississippi State 21-14.
That was their first SEC win in like 3 years, I think.
Yeah, it was something like that. Then we got highlights from this weekend. Number 2, Alabama destroyed Texas A&M, number 13, 52-24. That was the final score of the Mac Jones game. Oklahoma State, number 17 in the country. This was as of Saturdays. These were Saturday's rankings, not the current updated rankings that come out Mondays. So I don't know if those were released yet. Oklahoma State dropped the hammer on Kansas 47-7. Number 12, UNC struggled against Boston College, who's showing a lot of promise early on here in the ACC season. That game was 26-22 UNC. The number 7 Auburn got whooped on, dominated, decimated, and eviscerated by number 4 Georgia 27-6.
I thought it was kind of surprising too.
Mike, you and I both picked Auburn for this game because we were seeing a lot of promise. Matt was the only one that went Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. There were so
Georgia
many
won.
issues with Georgia at quarterback going into the
Yeah.
game. It was so hard to pick them. I think even on College Game Day, a lot of them picked Auburn
Yeah.
because of the quarterback issues.
I'm not surprised Georgia won, but that was a dominating performance.
I thought if Georgia won, it was going to be closer than that.
Yeah.
Then number 20 LSU beat Vanderbilt 41-7. Great bounce back week. Just had to highlight that in there. Then Clemson, clearly number 1 team in the country once again, 41-23 over Virginia, who had a pretty good game because they put up
That's
23 on
also good,
Clemson. Yeah. Interesting side note from all these games. Florida has played pretty good. Kyle Trask
like
dominating.
I like Florida and Trask.
Yeah, but they have a guy better. It's so good, in fact, that one of the Florida's assistant coaches, I believe one of their wide receiver and tight end coaches, called up his good friend Antonio Gates and said, "I think we got a kid that might be better than you." This is... Oh, shoot. I don't have the name written down. Oh, God. Give me 1 second. I will find it. I want to say it's Pitts.
For Florida.
Yeah. Yeah, Kyle Pitts. Yeah, we might see a tight end in the Heisman race is all I'm saying.
Oh, wow.
And he showed it in that game. I think he had 2 touchdown receptions and quite a bit of yardage.
He said that he was going to be better than Gates.
Antonio Gates,
Antonio
who
Gates.
just stopped playing in the NFL.
Yeah,
And he didn't
not
even
long ago.
play college football. Okay, he played basketball.
Right.
And I think he even got drafted, but they said that his body type wasn't good as a basketball player.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to play football. Become one of the best tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah, ever.
And now we're looking at just 2 more Saturdays until the Big Ten returns on October 24th. The Pac-12 just released their schedule out. It's going to be hard for any Pac-12 team to get in, though.
So,
Oh, it's going to be.
They're going to need a lot of... Big 12 basically has eliminated themselves already. Unless Oklahoma State
big game.
does something miraculous,
October
which they'll most likely
31st.
pull something.
Yeah.
So pretty much I think the season starts on October 31st when Penn State plays Ohio State. I've been saying that a couple times. And
I mean, it starts for the Big Ten. Every
yeah,
other team.
it starts for the Big Ten. That's what I'm saying.
Well,
I
that
said
would
that-
be week 2, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
me too for Big Ten football.
So I mentioned this at work to a guy who was all decked out in Buckeyes. He's like, "Oh, Ohio State's gonna blow them out like 3-0," and I'm like, he's like, "They blow them out the past 5 years." I'm like,
No, they haven't.
excuse
Blowout?
me, yeah,
Very,
blowout.
very close.
Look,
Past
there
5
are
years.
some bad Buckeye fans to
Yeah.
give the good ones a bad
Oh, yeah.
name.
I'm like, dude, just take your lunch meat and get out of here.
Penn State
Okay?
lost by like what, like 9 or 10 last year?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
lost
before
he's
that,
like,
only 1 point
It's
game.
Yeah.
literally been some of the closest games
Yeah.
in rivalry games
Yeah.
in the past
he's
5
like, they blew
seasons.
them out last year. I'm like, they lost by 10.
No, they didn't.
They lost by
They didn't
10.
a long time.
It
Right.
might have been 11. I think
Right.
it was
I think it was
11.
11. It was
Yeah,
like 26 or no, like 37-26
yeah,
or something.
something like that.
Something random. Well,
And I tried to call that game
Yeah.
off, and I didn't get it.
I've been talking with some people, and a lot of us have been saying it's possible you might see 3 SEC teams this year, just because they're playing more games, and we've seen a lot more of them. I mean, Alabama, Georgia, Florida. Right now, those are the three of the best teams in this entire country.
I agree.
Clemson is pretty much locked themselves in as long as they don't screw it up
Yeah.
and lose to Notre Dame. They've locked themselves in.
Go Notre Dame.
So that's one spot goes to them.
Or don't screw it up and lose a Pitt because they
Yeah, don't
Right.
lose a
Pitt was a
Pitt.
close game.
Yeah,
Pitt can pull
Pitt
something.
has upset them in the
Right.
past.
And then depending on, I think if any Big Ten team gets a loss, we might have to start looking if there are 1-loss SEC teams versus a 1-loss Big Ten team. It's probably going to the 1-loss SEC team because they've played more, depending on who it is.
Right.
Which will start getting interesting once we get into that. And coming up in a few weeks, actually I think in 2 weeks, yes, in 2 weeks, first ever Casual Sports Report top 12 rankings. 3 of us are going to be voting on it, put into one poll, and we're going to drop our first top 12.
See how it comes out.
Only top 20. We're not doing top 25 this year because of the wildness that's gone on.
Yeah.
We're going to stick to that top 12, focus on the playoffs. Just because of the weird season this year.
Yeah.
Maybe next year, though, top 25.
Yeah.
Have you guys ever done a top 25?
No.
I have not, no.
It is awful. It is the worst thing. Once you get down to 20,
It's hard.
in those last 5 teams, you're like, oh, God.
Just
A lot of these teams are garbage.
Yeah.
I just have to put them. Then you got to put all those teams like, oh, man, these are right on the brisk of, popping in there.
Yeah.
Because I've done them for the past 2 seasons. They haven't been. I think I've only put them out a few times on our Twitter page.
Yeah.
But it's a pain to do the full group.
I can imagine because, like you said, you got to look at who each team
Everything.
played. You got to look at everything. Then, like
And then
said,
if you were to look at every game this weekend, there was 30, by the way, and I watched half of them at least. I tweeted about every single one of them at some point. It's a lot of football.
Yeah.
So watching every one of them is physically impossible. Especially now because teams are getting put on the SEC network, ACC network, and I'm like, how am I supposed to watch these?
Then like teams.
Oh, I found out. I have their subscription apparently.
Then when the
on
third top
ESPN.
25, I mean, teams are ranked that haven't even played yet.
Right.
Like, I mean, Ohio State's
There's-
top, what?
I think 4 or 5 Big Ten teams in the top 25.
Ohio State's up there, Penn State's 9.
And Oregon's up there too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that plays a factor. Especially this year, because like you said, it's just crazy.
Well, we're almost done here with the show. Another long one, hour and 43 at the moment. I gotta stop being the host apparently because we go for too long when I do it. But I believe there's a certain award we need to give out this week.
Yep.
It's Matt's award to hand out each week. I just do the audio for it.
Yeah. So go ahead.
So this week's Meathead of the Week.
All right, I'm gonna give it out to Brad Hand, okay, of the Cleveland Indians. All right,
You had one job.
You had one job. Go out and get 3 outs, and then let's go to the next game. No, you blow it. You just blow it. All right, Brad Hand, 16 saves, probably the biggest choker of this year so far.
It's up there.
Yeah, it's up.
It
It's
was a
up.
bad one. It's
Especially in
bad,
baseball.
bad chance,
Yeah.
bad game to lose. Really.
Yeah, you score 9 runs, and you literally put the ball in your trusted closer, and he just screws it up for you.
Right.
Now you guys
So
are home.
congratulations, Brad Hand. You're a meathead. You've been a meathead. You just got this award now.
Then here's your this week's games of the week. I once again went with a few because there are some big ones coming up here. Games of the week, obviously NBA Finals. That's on Tuesday, Thursday, and if needed, Game 6 is Sunday, and Game 7 I believe would be Tuesday. So depending on how far the series go, may affect what day we do our podcast on next week. Currently, we're planning it for Wednesday. So the video will come out Thursday. That's the plan right now. That's tentative. Keep tuned on Twitter. I'll let you guys know. Other games of the week. Number 7, the U. Miami taking on number 1 Clemson. Saturday, 7:30 on ABC. Biggest game on television. This
One
is
of the
it.
biggest so far, too.
One of the biggest of the year.
Yeah.
Miami's looked promising. Clemson's been their normal dominant self.
Yep.
Clemson either steamrolls or loses. That's my thing.
Yeah,
They're either coming out there and destroying the U, or Derek King is going to show up and be like, hey,
And as I said,
I'm at 12-0 at Houston.
Yeah.
You better watch out.
And as I've said with Miami in the past, like, you know, most years, past couple years,
They're back.
They hype them up and then they fall apart at the end. But they seem to be back.
I wouldn't put this as the game of the week, but how about Notre Dame and Florida State playing?
Florida State is one of the worst football teams in the country.
But
Don't even say anything. Don't come into my segment. Don't come into my game of the week segment and say anything about Florida State.
Listen, it was a rival back in the day, and people were trying to, like, you know, spouse it back up again. Like, Notre Dame's going to come in and just, like, kick your butt.
Timeout. If you were following our Twitter, you know I had Florida State on upset alert at the end of the game against Jacksonville State.
Yeah.
They were losing 24-3. No, 24-0. They came back and won it in the second half. They were trailing 24-0 at halftime.
This
To Jacksonville State.
In a decade ago, you probably
Don't come on to my games of the week and say this.
I didn't say it was a game of the week.
You came on to my segment, boy.
I'm just saying they're trying to, like, sprouse this rival up again. I'm like, no, don't do that.
Then actually, I picked up 3 NFL games this weekend.
It's really sad though, because Florida State was like the number 1 team, like 10 years ago or something.
They won a national championship with Jameis Winston.
And they're one of us Bears, like, you know,
Historic programs.
Yeah.
But 3 NFL games.
And Jimbo Fisher left. He's out. Yes, I interrupted you. You interrupt me.
Shut up, kid.
What were your games of the week?
We got 3 of them.
3?
3 NFL ones. I like these ones. Bills and Titans at 1 p.m. Battle of the undefeateds, 4-0 versus 3-0. So long as the Titans are able to play by then, we're hoping. We don't know how many guys they'll have available to play. We don't know who's out. Other one, Browns Colts. It should be a good one. 4:25. I like this matchup. As much of a Browns fan as I am, this is going to be a challenge. We know the Colts are good. They've been playing great this season. That defense is phenomenal for the Colts. And the Browns secondary still isn't good. They got the defensive line. They've been phenomenal. The offense has finally hit full stride this weekend. But the Colts, man. Phillip Rivers out there. They're looking good.
Yeah, I mean, that's something they were missing.
And then this one is the lowest tier game of the week I have.
Oh, God.
But I'm interested to see if this team can do it because they haven't looked terrible. They're 2-2 going against the Chiefs. Raiders, Chiefs, 1 p.m. Derek Carr's looked pretty good this season. Josh Jacobs has been good.
Mm-hmm.
The Raiders as a team have not been bad.
No, they've been pretty
And
decent.
I'm just interested to see what they do. That's why I have this game
Henry
highlighted.
Ruggs, like, do too much yet.
When he gets the ball, though, he has done it. He has done good when he gets the ball.
Okay.
But considering he was the first, considering I believe he was the first wide receiver taken, or one of the top 3 guys taken, kind of wish he got a little more from the wide receivers. Really haven't shown up rookies this year.
Yeah.
Interesting to see.
And there was a lot of good ones coming out of the draft.
We haven't seen a lot of rookies showing up this season.
No.
It was definitely a down year at the moment. Obviously, still 4 games in.
Yeah, I mean,
We'll have to see.
A little bit to go.
Well, I think that's going to wrap up the show. As always, I'm Alec Caberna.
I'm Matt Morrison.
I'm like Wolfgang.
We'll see you next time. Make sure to check us out on Twitter, social media, anywhere else, at Casual Sports Report. This is the Casual Sports Podcast. We'll see you next time.
We'll see you.